Okay, so there's going to be a delay for this, and I'm alone for now. I don't know exactly how many people will join in. This is an impromptu uh, chat with a good friend of mine. And let's see. Okay, so there's going to be a delay for this. Okay, just setting things up here. Um, okay. Participants. Okay, let's see. So our next guest, or our guest for this evening, okay, because it's unannounced, very good friend of mine. um, very timely, uh, very timely interview actually, because one of our topics, the next series that we're going to be talking about is ultralight fishing, and this guy happens to be a specialist in the field. So it's good timing that he's actually joining us for this session. Uh, Sent him the link. He's going to join us in a bit. Uh, should be interesting. Very interesting conversation for sure. And when he comes in, I'll be he's in the UK, so this is also good because I've always wanted to test a live stream that's kind of in the same time as Europe. So or around this time would be good for some parts of the US and Europe. Okay, so it's the evening time in Europe as well. I think we are about, I don't know, hold on, UK time right now. It is early evening, 7:18 p.m. And here, so they're about 3 hours behind in the UK. We are at 10:19. So just waiting for our dude to come in. Now, this is, of course, being recorded on YouTube. And for those that cannot join us live, this session is, of course, recorded by YouTube. And I'm doing this through Zoom. Okay. Geez. All right. I don't know if I could actually control the camera and keeping it from like zooming in and out. Okay. There we go. So hopefully that would be sharp. Oops. Okay. Just keep the camera controls in, I guess. Oh, okie. There's a delay. There's a small delay uh, with YouTube. Just waiting for our guy to come in. And then, second time I'm doing this. So, we're still not perfect. Okay. Is there sound? Many? Can you hear? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So there's a sound now. Okay, my monitor for YouTube actually cleared, kind of froze. So hopefully um should be okay now. Okay. Okay. All right. So he's just doing an update for his Zoom, and then after that, he's gonna be joining us. And that's cool. All right. So hello, Juice. So today is going to be very interesting because it's in line with a topic that we've actually started within an introduction. This guy is pretty interesting because he's a huge collector of fishing tackle, and boy, his fishing room's actually a sight to see. Um, and for a while, he was working with a brand or brands for as one of their sponsored anglers. So uh, he has a extensive experience in that kind of scenario as well. Okay, so uh, we don't have your camera, dude. There we go. There we go. All righty. Hold on, dude. Let me just see here. I'm trying to. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I can't hear you, dude.
Just 1 second. Audio. Microphone. Can you hear me now?
Okay. Can you speak?
Yeah, I'm speaking. Can you hear me?
Oh, nothing, dude. Can't hear you.
Mm,
What deal?
saying the audio.
Can you hear me though?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I can't hear you, dude.
Yeah, you can hear. You can hear me.
Nothing.
I can hear you.
Uh,
Audio.
I can. Well, okay. So your video actually switched, yeah. So as far as the video is concerned on online, people can see you, but I can't hear you.
Yeah, just 1
There's.
second.
Can you guys hear Gary?
It was definitely on. Just 1 second. Strange. I use Zoom every day, and I can't understand why it's not working.
Oh, dude, I hear your volume thing go up like this. Your mic.
Yeah.
You can hear Gary. So okay, what's wrong? It might be me then. Hold on. People can see you, but I can't hear you. Can you guys hear? Okay, so I can hear Gary on YouTube, but I can't hear him on my system. That's weird.
You can't hear me at all. Select this week.
Okay.
Can you can
Keep on talking so that I can what do you call this?
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, finally. Woohoo! Holy crap. All right. So, okay, let me introduce this guy. So, for years, I had the pleasure of calling him my fishing buddy. Uh if I was to describe him in one word, explorer would. Okay, because this guy has a nasty habit of going to places where you know, I mean, you couldn't even imagine his best tool. If you ask him, his best angling tool would probably be Google Maps. Actually,
100%.
right? Now, the the very special thing about our guest is that he is a light tackle specialist, and I think this is the most appropriate um, title for this guy. Add to that collector.
Yep.
I think that's pretty accurate. And um, another unique thing about him is that he is not only like an angler like all of us, but he has fished being sponsored as an angler by some of the biggest brands in the world. Alrighty, so ladies and gentlemen, uh, say hello to Gary Herman.
Hello.
All right. So obviously we've known each other for years.
Yeah.
And so go ahead and actually kind of give us a 15-second introduction and just bring us up to speed on where you're at right now, dude.
Oh, that's a very difficult one. 15 seconds. Okay. Well,
All right, 30, 1 minute.
fishing career spans was probably going close on to 47 years.
Wow.
Obviously started off fishing rock and surf in South Africa. Was probably at the age of 3. And obviously the light tackle element of it started around that time when we were still kids, fishing for small little blacktails and small little gobies and stuff that used to be in the little rock pools when we were kids, just with very light tackle that we used to just buy from a sweet store, just to say it from that perspective. Over the years, I've been very fortunate to come from a fishing family. I grew up with a granddad that used to specialize in rock and surf, so I used to spend a lot of time with him when we were growing up as kids, getting an idea on how to read the weather, spend time cruising down the beaches in South Africa, targeting holes for, we call it in South Africa, bluefish and grunter and carp. And what's happened is that has always stayed with me, no matter which part of the country or which part of the world that I ended up moving and living in. My career has taken me literally all around the world, and how I got to meet Kit was obviously we were both in Dubai around the same time, and obviously I think it was one day we just reached out to each other, and this is where the friendship actually then started, and the love for fishing and the love for ultralight sports fishing and stuff like that was born, would I say, because at that time there was only a handful of people that was actually doing it, and obviously there was only, with that handful of people that were actually doing it, we were a very tight knit group of guys that used to share information with each other about product sets and all different, how would you say, approaches and stuff and areas to fish with inside of them, probably Abu Dhabi and Dubai. And obviously, like Kit mentioned a little bit earlier, I spent half my life, I would say, living in Dubai, and Google Maps was the ultimate software tool I had to my disposal, because what it did is it actually opened up a lot of areas which most people didn't have access to, and Kit could vouch for this. When we used to go on our adventures, we used to meet people along the way, and they then used to open up, I would say, areas that your typical fisherman wouldn't have access to, which then gave us another, as I call it, a playground where we could go and explore, be it in skiffs or little kayaks or little inflatables and stuff like that. And we used to then go hopping between all the little islands and stuff, fishing all the channels and the flats for obviously grunter and bream and golden trevally and everything else that used to pop around that area. Obviously, Kit was one of the main reasons I actually got, I will say it wasn't, he was the main reason I picked up sponsorship with Rappler. And obviously Kit pulling strings and wanting to bring me on board was an absolute pleasure, I would say, for the time that I was under Kit's leadership in Dubai. Obviously, I traveled around in Qatar and stuff like that, still under the sponsorship of Kit and Rappler and using their products and stuff like that, until eventually I had to make the conscious decision to shift to the UK. And once again, with Kit's leadership and with Kit's contacts in Rappler, they actually transferred my sponsorship from Dubai across to UK. So I was with Rappler going on 5 years here. But at the beginning of this year, I made a conscious decision to unfortunately part ways on a mutual understanding. I wanted to follow my own adventures again and follow my own style of fishing, which unfortunately Rappler couldn't facilitate anymore. So yeah, that's the reason why I'm now focusing. I'm still with ultralight fishing, but I'm starting to move into another realm of stuff now with guidance and mentoring from another gentleman that's over here. That's me pretty much in a nutshell now. Sorry, Kit, that wasn't 15 seconds.
Quite concise there. So we're gonna talk about we're gonna break that apart, and then we're gonna talk about your time in Dubai.
Yep.
Your time in the Middle East in general.
Yep.
You know, and then after that, obviously your time in South Africa growing up. And you know, one of the things I really loved about your growing up was the fact that when you actually, this is one detail when you told me, I was kind of shocked. Is that your mom is actually a very good angler?
That's correct. Mom actually, I don't know, you know, last time I spoke to her, she's still trying. She's going into her 70s now. Well, she's in her 70s at the moment. So yeah, the fishing's now a little bit difficult. But my mom's always been the person in my family that used to be my fishing buddy when we used to go on holidays and stuff like that. But, you know, it's a difficult one because, you know, you're always trying to outperform when you go fishing, especially with my mom. And unfortunately, it just, I don't know if it's just something that's she's naturally talented with. She ends up catching more fish, obviously.
It's kind of
yeah.
It's kind of a normal thing to hear that your dad, you know, taught you how to fish and that you're your dad's fishing buddy, but it's not normal. It's not normal, but it's very unusual. It's a very unusual thing to actually hear that, you know, it's the mom who's like really, but it started with your granddad.
Yeah, that's correct. 100% with my granddad. My granddad was an old school fisherman, and obviously a lot of people that's grown up in a family where you've had a granddad or that's into fishing, they rely on another set of skills. They didn't have access to fish finders and navigation tools and all the apps we can get now. Everything is a watercraft. They basically learned the tides, they learned the wind patterns, they learned just basically anything that the environment would give them signs on when to go fishing and when not to go fishing. As growing up with my granddad, when we used to go on holiday, you know, we always used to fight and vie for who was going to spend time going out fishing with my granddad, because it was very selective. Obviously, if you've got all the cousins and, you know, people there, my granddad's Land Rover or beach buggy at the time could only hold so many people. So it was like a lottery system. You know, you win the lottery, you're up at 4 o'clock in the morning in the back of the Land Rover or the beach buggy, and you're cruising down miles and miles of just sandy beaches looking for these holes. And obviously my granddad had a fishing buddy. He used to join, and basically they used to know where to go. And it was just like basically every cast was a fish. Natural bait was all used. Obviously lure fishing wasn't very big at that time, so it was more rock and surf fishing. It was, you know, collecting prawns and collecting mussels and red bait and worm, and then go fishing these nice deep holes for these amazing saltwater fish. And then obviously
hold on. Let's backtrack a little bit here. So a lot of people outside of South Africa and Australia, New Zealand and Zimbabwe, those places, they don't know what rock shore fishing is, or that brand of rock shore fishing. So how would you best describe it? What I mean, I know.
Okay.
Okay, but how would you describe it to like guys who haven't heard of that kind of fishing yet?
Okay, it's basically fishing off the rocks along the beachfront or fishing off the sand. That's why they call it rock and surf. Obviously, standing on the beach, right in the water, casting bait into the water, either in just behind the breakers or just before the breakers in the gullies. Like I said earlier, just about using bait and stuff and sinkers and hooks and very specialist traces, and then allowing for the fish to obviously naturally swim past, picking that food up.
What kind of gear are we talking about? Because the kind of gear that you find in South Africa is kind of different from what you find around the world. And like literally, you're one of those guys that is very qualified to talk about this because you're very familiar with everything from European tackle, Japanese tackle, American tackle, and South Africa has its own tackle system.
Yeah, it's a very unique tackle system. I mean, the rods or anything, depending if you short casting, just be off the rocks into deep pools. You're using anything from 10-foot to 11-foot rods. Obviously, if you want to get the bait out a little bit further, you're pushing from 12-foot up to 15-foot rods, and sometimes 16-foot rods. The many years ago, we were very limited because we didn't really have spinning reels. It was all done by bait casting. So with bait casting rods, we had to learn very, very quickly, and we didn't have the sophisticated gearing and the sophisticated braking systems that we would have on our typical reels that we would have today. Over time, the angling industry has changed. It's now moved more into spin cast fishing. That's it. It's moved into more spin cast fishing now, which is making it a little bit easier for people to get associated to, and easy for them to cast with now, because what Kitty's showing you there now does take a bit of skill to actually take a 4-ounce lead sinker with some bait on it, throw it at some distance, not worrying then about overrun on the spool, and obviously bird nests and everything else that could happen.
So this is a typical South African style surf rod. Okay, so very similar to the ones in the UK, I believe.
Yep, very similar. The ones in the UK, the butt sections are a little bit longer.
Yeah, so this is quite short.
Yeah.
The good ones actually had wood.
Yep.
And then it had this, sleeve. And then this is 3-piece. Obviously, before it was 2-piece, I guess.
Yep.
This is 3-piece. This is actually a lighter model, 12 feet, and designed to cast up to 100 grams of weight. But the thing that and mind you, I'm pretty sure you know this this rod, Gary. It's hold on, there we go.
Just take it back of it.
Stimulator.
Oh, stimulator, yeah.
From Poseidon.
Poseidon, Kingfisher. It used to be
Kingfisher. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Kingfisher. So and this is a cheap rod. It's actually a cheap rod, but
cheap but very good.
Yes, it's Daiwa, isn't it?
It's a very good rod.
But see, here's the thing, right? What shocked me, and I think this is something that a lot of people wouldn't even know unless you held it. It's very light, dude.
Yeah.
Very, very light. And mind you, this is a rod from the early 2000s, I believe, around 2010, something like that. No, probably earlier. Because this type of rod, the stimulators are not in circulation anymore, I believe. They changed the whole lineup for the better, I think. Yeah. But comparing to some rods that I actually have from the UK, these things are very light. So very different tackle system, even the traces and how you guys approach, and even the fish that you target, kind of different.
Yeah, it's a completely, I mean, we've got what a lot of people don't appreciate. We are in South Africa, people are so lucky with the variety of the different types of fish species you can actually catch. And this is why, rock and surf fishing's now slowly moved into another realm of now using those same type of rods that you just held up there now, Kit, but flinging out metal jig baits and lures over long distance to get behind the breakers, and then targeting the predatory fish like we call it garrick or learfish or cob, which hang around in those surf zones. Yeah. And it's been very, very successful over the last decade or so, with people, going away from the traditional bait fishing and moving more into the lure side now, but combining it with the rock and surf tackle.
But see, here's what I actually said. There's a lot that actually were invented in South Africa, I believe. Innovations like, take for example the one-way slide. I believe that came from South Africa. Yeah. So before, slide baiting generally, that's from Hawaii, and they were fishing off of cliffs and they were sliding baits and stuff. Yeah. But in South Africa, you didn't really have cliffs. You had, as you mentioned, like long stretches of beach.
Yeah, long stretches of beach with outcrops of rock, but the rock is not very high. Yeah. It's just rocks that you would naturally get from, sand erosion from tide and stuff like that. But where the slide bait era started coming in was for people that were targeting big flatfish like big stingray and shark and stuff like that. Trying to throw out a big chunk of meat on a rod is very difficult. So what they used to do is just basically throw the sink out, and then they used to slide the bait into the water.
Yeah,
and let the bait naturally just move with the tide.
What really, I think, what really is impressive with me when learning about the South African style fishing, the scene there, and some tech from South Africa, is that you guys are very good at keeping everything very simple and very effective.
Yeah.
So very, I think you guys are like, what I don't like about bait fishing is that you tend to take a lot of stuff, but you guys have done it in such an art form that you don't take a lot of stuff, like literally either a small trolley or in a backpack.
Yeah.
And you have a very efficient system, and I believe the South African surf bait fishing tech, just the technology that you guys have there it's the best in the world, literally.
Yeah, we've got obviously we've got a lot of, the commercial side of it is, I think, most probably the biggest stinger out of stuff, because most of the stuff is brought in either from Japan or Europe or from the US. And obviously with customs and everything else associated, fishing tackle is quite expensive. So obviously you've got these agencies or these companies back in SA that are always looking at, making things a little bit more streamlined. So, the traditional fisherman that wants to go down and, practice the watercraft and practice, the art of fishing down on rock and surf, they want to give everybody that opportunity. So, the range of stuff that you could buy from either, people bringing product in mass and then selling it in, bringing it in bulk, should I say, and then selling it in mass, drives the pricing down. And then you've also got people then that are constantly reinventing by making their own designs and making their own product from their garages, making their own jig heads and then, powder coating them and then selling them off into the market and stuff like that, which obviously then brings the cost down as well. So, you learn, you're always reinventing. Like me, like you mentioned earlier, it's carrying bags and, then walking down on trolleys, because eventually carrying bags, became a bit too much because some of the distances that you walk. So people came up with these unique beach trolleys with these big wide wheels that they don't sink into the sand. And then, you could throw all your gear on it. The other thing we didn't have to do as well is carry the bait. We could get the bait on the beach, so we can actually physically go and scour for mussels and sand prawns and mud prawns, and which made it a lot easier for us as well. So you didn't have to lump in anything heavy down with you and then carry anything heavy back after a heavy day's fishing.
Yep. So, and I think one of the things that really impressed, and this is something that I really want to do down the line. So, hopefully we'd be able to do it. But I mean, when you go surf fishing, you guys don't kayak stuff out, because obviously the water there is not but it's pretty treacherous.
Yeah.
Right? And anything that looks as if it could kill you in South Africa really kills you.
Yeah.
Right? You walk on the sand on the beach and you don't know, you're dead.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's only not on the water. You've also got to worry about you've got to worry about how do you call it, the climate. I mean, it's hot in some places. You've got to worry about predatory animals that lurk around in the bushes, especially where I live. We've got leopards and snakes and all sorts of stuff that wander down onto the beach. And then obviously the sea creatures that live in there. I mean, we've got some really big sharks that literally swim right behind that breakwater, chasing up the shoals and stuff, or fishing up to feed. So yeah, it's not advisable to go in with a kayak to go drop off bait. But as we know, drone fishing has become a very common platform now. But South Africa is going through a bit of a struggle on that at the moment, where some people are like, they're fighting it really hard. The government, the environmental agencies back in SA are actually putting a ban on it now, because people are flying drones without pilot licenses. And then obviously, if something goes wrong, where does your liability and insurance and everything come out, especially if you crash land a drone onto someone or a kid or something to that effect. So a lot of people have petitioned it, should I say, and obviously that's going through courts and stuff. I don't know if it's been concluded, but it was going through courts last year to try get resolved, and if it was allowed. Because obviously with a drone, you can fly a bait right out to the back. You can fly it 300-400 meters out of the back into the surf zone and go and drop it right off there, and you can target some
that kind of started there, didn't it?
Yeah.
So
it's a big thing, because people wanted to target the bigger fish that were just patrolling just out of casting reach. That's what it was all about. They just wanted to get that little bit further. So drone fishing was seen as it.
And on the lure fishing side, South Africa's gift to the world, GT ice cream.
Oh yeah, GT ice creams. I still remember when they first made their how do you call it, stage in Dubai. So I can't remember the shop that was selling them, but GT ice creams were made. It
was Ocean Active.
Yeah, it was Ocean. Oh yes, it was through Nick. Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, it was through Nick.
That's okay.
The Garden Center.
Yeah, Garden Center. Yeah, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, that's I mean, if you're not OG angler in Dubai, you wouldn't know that. Now there's a lot of there's some that changed hands, and a lot of other smaller shops that kind of open, you know, but the bigger mainstays are still around. Nick has, of course, since moved on to bigger and better things, I think. The GT ice cream, a very strange lure.
Yeah, very simple.
Yeah, very simple
construction, just with a little single hook off the back.
Yeah, so this is not something that's new. Obviously, in South Africa, this they just call it a plug.
Yeah, that's it.
So before the GT ice cream, what was it like? Just the same thing, but with wood?
No, I would, going back, if you have to go back to that time, bucktails were around, bucktail jigs were around. People were making them in their garages. People were experimenting with buying just lure bodies and then spraying and customizing it themselves. But the old spoons was a very good popular one, just like a metal rod with a hook off the back, or a couple of metal plates just held together with split rings. And they would basically knock each other as they're coming through the surf. And those were the basic type of lures that you could get.
That's actually a technique that they use for tiger fish. Two spoons put together, held together with a split ring, and it makes it heavier. Plus, it makes a clapping sound, right?
That's correct.
When you're working. All right. So, what brought you to Dubai?
Work. I was. I think it's like that with most people. I was living in London at the stage in 2000 and around the 2000s, and my dad was in Dubai at the time, and he just phoned me up and said it's time to come out to Dubai. It was Sharjah at the time where we were staying, and come out there and come try to set up life there, which I did. I still remember the first week when I arrived there. The first thing I did was go down to the estuary that comes in there by Sharjah. I can't remember the name of it, but there's an estuary that comes in off the Gulf, and then there used to be like a resort there, and it used to be like a whole new development there. And I used to go and sit there underneath an umbrella, catching all sorts of little things. And then eventually, you know, kingfish and barracuda was very common around there, because obviously there was a lot of rock structure with a lot of bait fish that used to hang around there. And then I used to go there and catch them in the evenings. And then obviously emperor fish, you know, the juvenile emperors, and obviously little orange spot trevallies and all of those type of things used to come in there as well. So that's where I used to fish most of the times in the evening, until I eventually moved into Dubai, and then I was exploring a bit more. So, I mean, that just then opened up a whole new realm of things for me, all the way from Dubai up to Abu Dhabi. But Abu Dhabi to me was still the playground. There was just so much still to explore there, to be honest. And I don't think I'll ever get the opportunity to ever go and explore it again, because like I've heard from yourself, and what I've heard from Matthew, and what I've heard from Steve Warren, and all the old OGs, you know, that's all gone now. So it's a pity.
Yeah. I mean, the near Al Aryam, just at the back there, that goes all the way up to the islands. There's a development there now.
Is it?
Yeah. So, you know, that's like end of an era, really.
Yeah, it's a pity, you know, because I think towards the end of my stay, just before myself and my wife and my daughter decided to move back to the UK, I think I was just getting over spending 16 years fishing that area. I think only towards the end of it, I think it really then started opening up. Remember that day that I think it was myself, Faisal, you, and Hamad went when we were fishing along the coast. Then we met that local guy that came and stopped next to us, and then invited us to his house. And then basically, I think that was one of the doors that just literally could open up into an endless world of
that place was
really good potential fishing. I think we went down there, and I think that's the week. I think it was about 2 weeks that you got your skiff. And I think we went down with the skiff and went to go play there. I mean, I don't think if I remember rightly, I don't think we really had a great day, but I don't think the day was good anyway for fishing. But it was, I think, it was a perfect opportunity to explore that territory a lot more.
Yeah. And then they started closing the place down.
They've closed it all down. I've had it. I went back onto my Google Maps just to have a reminisce on it the other day, and that house is gone now. Everything's gone now. So
and it's well, it's development. You know, you can't.
You can't
stop it.
Yeah, you can't stop it. But you know, that's just why I think the privileged few, like myself, you, Barry, Matthew, Stephen, Jonathan was another guy that used to go out there quite often with kayaks and stuff like that and fish, and old Nathan as well. I think we were the most fortunate people to actually have explored that area just before it got shut down, to be honest. I don't think anybody would have the opportunity now to do what we did all those years ago.
Yeah, it's different. It's very different, which is a shame, because we have more toys.
We have more what? Sorry?
Toys.
Oh yeah. I think that's the thing, is the toys have, you know, toys started, you know, arriving, unfortunately, you know, just before I left as well. So unfortunately, I didn't get ready to partake in it. I mean, my weapon was my inflatable with my engine. I could just throw it in the back boot of my car, and I could carry it to work and then go fishing off to work and stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was just island hopping for me, and then camping on the islands and stuff like it, and just exploring. I think just getting lost. I think that's what it was all about. Was getting lost.
I think that was what was special, because at that time everything was kind of magical, because there was no crowd.
No, there was no crowd. You didn't have people throwing their lines up. I think it was a mutual respect out of us OGs when we were fishing, is that we all respected each other while we were fishing. And I think it was a lot of, you know, being like comrades, just, you know, fishing without the hustle and bustle of the, you know, everyone else coming and fishing around you. You knew if you were going to go fishing in that spot, it was only going to be you and your mates, and there was going to be no one else to come and throw the spanner in the works. And I think that's what, you know, made it, you know, special for us. And obviously having the skill sets that we all brought in onto the table, yourself, Barry, you know, Matthew, and everyone else, you know, sharing that information and knowledge and stuff like that about exploring other areas we've never gone to before.
Yeah.
and stuff like that, which I think made it really, really exciting and really, really interesting.
Yeah.
But
But
our
I
family
mean,
is
there's places that would just blow your mind. Like,
it will. It is definitely.
yeah. So one of the things that I actually really will never ever forget, and a lot of people would be very confused, is that we were one of the very few on Earth that can go sight casting at night.
Yeah. throw into a big black hole.
Yeah, but it's crazy that you can literally do that.
Yeah.
Under people's noses and actually catch good fish.
Yeah. You know, a lot of people didn't realize that night fishing was actually quite good there. I mean,
Yeah.
you know that place by the second bridge. You know, there used to be a tiny little like island that we used to hop across, park the cars up at the bridge, and then hop across the little island, and then use that little island as a base. And I mean, literally from the island, you could see the main road leading in.
Yep. I remember that. I used to kayak. There was a small shack there.
Yes, that's it. That small little shack there, and that's where we used to set the base up. Now, just going off the right-hand side of it, there's a shelf that runs off for about probably 100 meters and around onto a sand. I used to go and fish that at night. You know, you walk in, it's only knee deep, but the size of the bream that used to come up onto that rocky surface to come and feed, man, they were ginormous, man.
Among other things, I remember there were like really big stingrays that just
scared
the Jesus out of you when you move.
I'm still to this day, there's got to be sharks in that water, man.
Oh, there were. I actually hooked a couple.
Is it? Yeah, there must be, because I remember Barry telling me stories about big bull sharks up at the mouth of the hole.
So. Yeah. I mean, that's the place he was telling us about the sharks is not even like 10 kilometers away.
Is it? Yeah. So,
and it's a canal, so they pass through, right? I mean, I hooked a couple of black tips there.
Okay.
By accident, you know. And most of the time I was messing around with the poppers that were kind of too big for the place.
Yeah.
And then bang.
Bang.
And you don't expect that they're there, but they were there.
Well, right? Put it this way, if you cast your mind back, wasn't there a guy that caught a tuna in that water on a fly?
Yeah.
I still remember.
A long tail.
He caught a long tail. Didn't he? He made it into one of the magazines, I think it was.
I think so, yeah. That was purely by accident, but that obviously.
Yeah.
But that just tells you how good it was before. You know, you get lucky and you get really lucky.
Yeah.
That was an American guy, actually. We used to fish together. I forget his name, but yeah, and then there's like a lot of magical places, really. You know, there's some night adventures that I shared with a few guys. I'm actually gonna invite Leng over one time, and that's shared a few adventures over at Al Ariam, fishing at night. And another thing we used to do a lot was fly fish off of the flats in Abu Dhabi and all that. And I mean, I know that those times will not be repeated anymore. I mean,
I think this is probably one of the regrets I had, is I never spent enough time on the fly out in those flats. I did do it on a few occasions. I think I ended up buying some fly tackle from Leng anyway, when you're still staying there to buy a Media City. Yep. I remember you taking me down, and I ended up buying a couple of Orvis reels and stuff from him. And you know, I was getting into that mindset of, you know, spending more time on the fly on that water. But, you know, just the lure fishing was just bringing me back the whole time. You know, every time I would go back, I think, I don't have the energy now to stand out there all day flicking a fly. It's easier just to throw a lure and then just retrieve it in. So I'm quite sorry I never did it. I'm now trying to make up for it now. I'm spending a lot of time now.
Well, you're in a good place for fly fishing.
Yeah, what's that, sorry?
You're in a good place for fly fishing.
Oh yeah, definitely. But once again, you know, it was the ultralight lure fishing that was spurring the things as we went along, while I was, you know, under the guidance and sponsorship of Rapala. Yeah. But, you know, spending time now, you know, on my own missions now, I've got to meet some really, really, I mean, you can't explain these people I've met over the last 3 months. I mean, they are fly fishing elite.
Yeah.
They spend literally 3/4 of their lives just traveling around the world, fly fishing in these remote areas in the Amazon and fishing,
Yeah.
Mexico and the Alphonse Islands and everywhere else. And, just having a listen to them talk and stuff like that has now spurned that whole fly fishing thing up for me again now. So,
Wait, when you said Alphonse, like Mark Cloud is there, isn't it, in the UK?
yeah, we got them. And there's another guy called Stefan, who's from Fly Fishing Nation,
Yeah, yeah,
and his wife, Marina. They are two very, very well-known fly fishermen here.
yeah,
And I had the pleasure of meeting them. It was probably about 3 months ago at a Yeti function.
yeah,
And
yeah,
having a sit and chat with the two of them, just opened up some how do you call it, some baggage that I had carrying around with me, where I thought I would never touch a fly rod again.
yeah.
Now I'm slowly getting back into that mindset. I mean, like, when was it? It was probably about 2 months ago. I did the Orvis Fly Fishing Festival.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was another mind-opening event. Meeting a lot of very interesting people, and this is one thing I must probably enjoy about being away from the sponsorship thing now. It's I don't have that, how do you call it, the handcuffs on.
Okay, okay. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that in a bit. But before that, um, I know the answer to this, but um, how did you actually get to specialize on ultralight, and what basically was the main attraction?
I was
Because at that point, not a lot did ultralight fishing. There's only a handful of people,
yes.
and you were like, not like, but literally, as far as the majority of people in the UAE and the greater uh Middle East is concerned,
Mm.
you're literally one of the pioneers.
Yeah, well, that's where it all started. I was always looking to go light, as light as I possibly could. I was constantly experimenting, I think, to the detriment of my bank account, because you were just constantly looking for that setup that was pushing the boundary, and there was always room for improvement. It wasn't something I was satisfied with when it came to having just one type of reel, one type of rod, and using a specific line or a specific lure. Spending time with you and your wider knowledge of the Japanese industry and all the other industries worldwide, and obviously the influence you had in the market, was a perfect tool for me to tap into. Just because I was just looking for something no one else was doing. It's difficult to say. People, anglers in the UA still couldn't buy into that method. Using very light line, very small lures, because most people think, well, the bigger the lure, the bigger the rod, the bigger the reel,
The
the
bigger
bigger
the
the
fish.
fish you're going to catch. And
Yeah,
you'll be surprised, it's not always the case. I mean, we
yeah,
were catching big golden trevallies on small little Gamoku plastics with
yeah,
2.5 gram jig heads. I mean,
yeah.
it was there, and it had to be explored. And going out and spending all those nights and all the free time that I had after work and all the weekends and stuff like that, that's all I did was focus on. Just go down, go to the shops, look for the lightest line. Couldn't find it. I was even, at some stages, I was even buying cotton and stuff like that from sewing stores with 1 pound breakage strain and all these type of things. I was experimenting with that. And then obviously with my workshop, I was then trying to create all sorts of things then to go
Yeah.
and play in that water system. Because for me, it was pushing the boundary. It had to be pushed. And how far can you go before, you can't go any further. And as we know, the Japanese market is rife with ultralight gear. It's a whole industry there, and there's so much resource to tap into. I'm still tapping into that resource as we speak now. I'm
Yeah.
online every night, looking at all these auction sites, looking at all the stuff, looking at new ways of fishing. This Tanago and this type fishing where you're using hooks size 24, very light line and stuff like that. Trying, all different things, just to satisfy my curiosity. And I don't even think I will ever satisfy it. There's just too much.
Lang told me one time, a long time ago, he said, one thing that you have to realize when you're at the leading edge of fishing technology is that it's very expensive.
It is. And the problem I've got is once I buy something, I don't get rid of it. So what ends up happening is I've amassed tackle lying in the Philippines, I've amassed tackle lying in South Africa, and I've amassed the whole garage of tackle here in the UK. And I'm not the type of person that gets hold of something and then buys it and then gets rid of it the next day. I'll hold on to it for some reason because I never know. I might go back to it. Who knows? But
dude, when you came back from Asia, remember, right? When you came back from Asia, and you invited me over to your, you invited me over to your place. I was like, holy crap! This is literally the best fishing room I've ever walked into.
Yeah, it was my man cave.
Yeah,
I was spending time out in Southeast Asia or Hong Kong or whatever it may be.
Macau.
Macau, and you've got access to all these stores that have access to Japan. It's like kids going into a candy store. I mean, I think my wife hated it every time she used to come and visit me there, because when we used to go on our little tours into Hong Kong or going to our little tours into Macau, my favorite app was out, Google Maps, and I was looking for the closest fishing.
You know what was weird? Mentioning Macau, what was very weird was when we were walking around, because we had like a day tour in Macau, or no, we went twice. I think we stayed in Hong Kong and then we rode a ferry. But like, dude, I was finding all the shops, the fishing shops. And it was so weird. It was so weird because my wife was telling me, how do you even find them?
Yeah, you stuff them up.
You just I don't know. You just have a feeling, right?
Like people use sonar and depth and fish finders. I've got a tackle finder built into my mind.
Yeah.
From out.
So dude, okay, let me ask you this, because you're one of those guys who's fortunate enough to actually always find yourself buying stuff, with obviously your wife supports it, yes. Otherwise you wouldn't be able to do it.
That's it.
But without bias, because I know you don't, you buy everything from Daiwa, Shimano, and all this and that, so how are tackle different from like purely something that's JDM and something that's either for European release or for American release? What's your take on that?
Oh, it's a very hard question. That that is a very hard question. It's difficult for me because I would say 90% drawn to the JDM market.
Yeah.
It's something I was in discussion with someone a couple of days ago. It's just, I think the technology, the pushing of the boundaries, the lure designs, even down to the packaging and marketing of their product is something that stands out to me. I don't know, like I said to you earlier, it's like a kid being in a candy store. I think their marketing approach is one of those that's just, it's tinkering on the verge of, you're an adult, but we market it as a kid's toy. So it's like very cartoon orientated. And it's just something that just grabs my attention straight away. The names are just unconventional names, Undead Factory and Trout, Silver Spoon, and all these other things that people come up with. And it's also the amount of effort that they actually put into their product. It's trial tested, it's pushed to the limits. I've recently just been introduced to a company called DRT, I've never heard of them before. Division Rebel Tackle, or Division Rebel Tackle, and basically the lures and the history about the person that invented the lure. I'm still reading through all the history about it, but the time and the effort, even just testing split rings on which will balance the lure out, just shows the level of detail they're going to.
Yeah.
You know, the coloring and everything they do on the lure, the balancing of the lure. I mean, it's just next level. Now, obviously, if I go more to the American side, it seems to be more commercially driven. You know, it's bulk. You know, there's to me, I see there's no love. You know, there's nothing really, you know, bringing me to that. It's like fishing in Walmart. You know, you just go buy your tackle there. That's my own opinion on it anyway. And I would say Europe is a little bit like that, and that's in my own opinion as well. But there is some companies out there that are pushing the boundaries now, trying to compete with the Japanese.
Yeah, I mean, you have tackle companies like what's this? Savage Gear.
Savage Gear. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's actually, you know.
But you see, a lot of these companies are all owned by bigger conglomerates. I mean,
Well, before it wasn't.
Fishing, that owns a lot. You know, they've got the subsidiaries of all the other smaller businesses in that. I mean, you know,
well, that's kind of dangerous. You know, we've seen that happen before with Sibyl.
Yeah.
Right? Remember Sibyl?
Yeah, I remember Sibyl very well.
Sibyl lures. They were really, really good, and then Pure Fishing bought them out, and then you know, kind of disappeared. So hopefully, Savage Gear won't go the same way.
Well, it's hard to say. The market here is very volatile at the moment. We know it's a very difficult industry to be into now. It's a
tough gig. It's a very tough gig.
It's a tough game now. You've got the Chinese domestic market, which is just producing all sorts of stuff at a very low fractional cost, making it more accessible to the people that don't want to go throw a 15-pound or a 30-pound lure into the trees. You know, you can go get the same equivalent. I mean, the quality was not going to be the same, and probably the action in the water is not going to be the same. But, you know, it puts a person that was probably at mind's ease that if they do throw it into the trees, they're not going to go home crying. So it's a very difficult one. And obviously, access to the internet now, that's another thing we never used to have many years ago, where you could go troll the internet and look for deals and look for stuff, and you could bring it in at a fractional cost.
Not as prevalent.
Yes, and I know a lot of business owners here on the tackle side here that have actually had to close their stores down because they just couldn't compete with online shopping.
Yeah. So
the whole business model had to change to, to compensate for that online buyer now. I only online buy because I'm forced to do so, because obviously I can't hop in an airplane and travel to Japan and to the other countries where I want to actually get my product from. But if I'm definitely in the UK and there's something that I need here, I would physically go to the shop. You know me, Kit. You know, when I was in Dubai, I literally visited all the stores around. You were the same. You used to get around visiting all the stores.
I'm still the same. I mean,
and that's what you want, because you want to physically hold the product in your hand. You physically want to see the product. You physically want to play around with the product to get a bit of a feel of what it's like before you buy something two-dimensional off the website.
It's just that sometimes you don't get what you need, so you're forced to go online.
Yes, 100%.
And that's good if you actually know what you're buying. If you're familiar, you know, that's fine. But for people that don't know, kind of difficult, you know. I mean,
it is very difficult. I mean, I'm still a firm believer, you know, everyone is shaped differently, everyone's hands are different, everyone's height is different, and you know, you've got to find the tackle that complements and balances you, not buying something someone else has suggested that you get. You know, you can influence and you can do that type of stuff, which is good because you're giving people guidance. But you know, I prefer still to go and pick it up and actually feel what it feels like in my hand.
Yeah,
you know, I'm a very fussy fisherman. This is why sometimes I used to struggle with products. When people used to say, "Here's a product,"
very
hold it and go, no.
Yeah,
and I prefer not. So, you know,
Okay,
sometimes I'll get a rod and I'll go and modify it straight away. Cut the handle
yep,
off, shorten it
yep,
up, you know, cut off all the EVA off it, you know, try
yep,
to reduce the weight, try to
yep.
make it a little bit more slimline to what I'm accustomed to. So, but yeah, very interesting one. Yeah, difficult question, that kid.
Okay, so uh what do you call this? When you're choosing tackle,
Hmm.
let's say uh for ultralight,
Hmm.
okay, like ultralight salt water,
Okay.
what are the things that you would be looking for? Because I know that there are a lot of people that are, you know, wanting to get into this, and they obviously they're looking for rods and reels that would be able to, you know,
Hmm.
um buy now. I always say, okay, that you can't have one thing to do a lot of
Very hard.
yeah. So what's your advice
True.
to people when you're, you know, when they're getting themselves into, and obviously when you're not buying just one thing or one combo,
Hmm.
things are going to get really expensive really fast.
Yeah, this is the thing, you know. It's trying to get an outfit or a setup to complement an overall spectrum of fishing is near impossible. There's a lot of things that have to come into perspective. You know, you've got to look at timings, how long you're going to be fishing for, what is the situation and duration of that time you're out fishing in the water. Fishing with too heavy of a tackle, you're going to get wrist fatigue, especially because ultralight, you're using more of your wrist than anything else. You're not using your arm and your shoulders to actually do all the casting. Everything's done with short little movements. So you want to get something that you're comfortable with. It's not going to place your wrist and everything under pressure. You then got to look at the environment you're going to be fishing in. Or you're fishing off you know, sand flats into deeper water, you're fishing off rocks, or you're fishing off pebbles. You know, you can sometimes have a pebble beach. You could also have shells in the water, because all of this would have an impact on your line. So obviously if you're using braid and stuff like that, and doesn't bow too well from the abrasion side when you dragging your line over a sand flat with a ledge, because what will end up happening is, you know, you're going to end up you're guaranteed you're going to end up damaging your line when you're doing so. What do you use rod wise? Do you want to get distance? Do you want to do short pitch casts? Do you want to obviously are you into bait casting or are you into spin fishing? You know, one has pros, one hasn't. Some are more accurate than others. Yeah, it's a difficult one. So it's hard, because if you don't have access to the privileges we've had, Kit, where we've got access to what we want to get, I think it would make it a little bit difficult for someone that doesn't have the access to it, because you're going to be then very limited to what you can do and what you can't do. So it is a very difficult one. You know, fishing with a specific tackle setup when I was in the, how do you call it, in the Abu Dhabi mangroves, for example, because obviously a lot of sand flats, deep ledges, as we know, because literally sand flat will just taper off into
Yep.
something very, very deep, very, very
Yep.
quickly. Um,
Mud as
and then,
well.
what's that? And mud. You got all of that, and then you got all the shells and stuff like that that line up against the sandy bottom and stuff like that, and then obviously fishing off, you know, water breaks at harbors and stuff like that for all the little queenfish and stuff that used to patrol around the edges of those water breaks and stuff like that. It's all different, but you know, it's a hard one. I could not honestly say, you know, this is what you should use to
Yeah.
be comfortable with someone going out and spending money to be very disappointed in something. And I think this is one of the things I struggled with when people saw the setups I had. and then would go and mimic that setup somewhere else, and then come back to me through social media saying, well, this was a load of rubbish. But where are you using it? You see, and that's my question. What are you using it for? What are you targeting? What fish species are you targeting? Where are you fishing? What's your fishing environment?
Yeah.
Because it will have an impact. And
I think a lot of people have like uh, a very simplistic understanding when you say ultralight.
Mm.
They have a very simplistic understanding, especially since, uh, like you mentioned earlier, a lot of people think that when it comes to ultralight, you're fishing for small fish.
That's not always the case.
Yeah, and this is literally the biggest difference between what is conventionally being called ultralight in, let's say, in places like the US,
Mm.
and the stuff that we use.
Mm.
First and foremost, the rods are very different, the action and all this. And as you mentioned earlier, there's rods dedicated for long presentations. There's rods that are shorter for shorter, closer presentations and all this. And it could be that there's two rods used for the same thing. Only one is for shorter casts and one is for longer casts.
So this is why a lot of the rod companies then started exploring with rods that you could add sections onto it.
Yeah.
I mean, you could fish a short cast rod. I think Major Craft did one. I can't remember the name of it. I've got one around somewhere. 3/6. So you're using a 3/6 rod, and then they give you like 3 or 4 extra extensions, which pushes it right up to just over 5 foot. So it gives you the ability from one rod to do multiple configurations from that rod, which obviously could satisfy certain requirements. But fishing with that type of rod was a bit too stiff. It just had no flex with me. Everything with me is just one arm with my wrist, and it's just flicking. It's just, I want the rod to do all the work, not me. I want the rod to be flicking the lure out. So with minimum effort coming from me.
See, that's something that a lot of people don't realize, that the equipment is there.
Yeah.
And they're there to do a job.
That's great.
And it's to lighten the load on you.
Yes.
So
this is the thing. It was actually quite strange. It was probably a year ago. We were doing a little bit of a team building exercise at work, and one of the guys I actually work with, he's a big carp angler. So one of the things he had actually set up was a casting stall where you pick up this big carp rod and then you throw this big weight, and you see who can get the furthest distance to these rings. Man, I struggled, because now my fishing style has always complemented me just using my wrist.
Yeah.
I didn't have the muscle memory and to actually pick up a big rod now and actually hold it so far apart between the butt of the rod and the top of the rod to actually heave that heavy weight. Man, I didn't get very, very far. And then everyone laughed at me saying, well, you're a professional, you're a sponsored angler, you can't even cast a fishing rod. It's a completely different completely different setup, a setup I'm not used to.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things, Kit. It's a very difficult thing to say. I mean, people need to watch videos on YouTube with regards to those stream anglers in Japan. Those guys are pinpoint accurate when they come and casting those rods. And you can see minimum effort with just those reels are so well tuned in to the line, to the lure. They just basically need to look at the rod and the lure's cast.
Well, Gary, it's my opinion, and that is pretty simple. If they can understand what a sniper is and its specific function, they'd be able to understand the concept of being a specialist in one particular type of tackle.
That's it. And this is what a lot of people do, is that instead of spending all the effort and time and money exploring, they focus and hone in on one specific genre of fishing, and then they hone that fishing style in, and then they perfect it.
Yeah. So, we have a question. I'm sorry to cut you off, but we have a question from Manny.
Okay.
He says, what can we say? Can we say in general that 1 to 10 grams would be the limit for ultralight? What's your take on this?
Too heavy. Too heavy
10
for my opinion. 10 gram is too heavy.
Yeah.
10 gram, you start going into the realms of light fishing now, not ultralight fishing. I would stick between, my personal preference, from 6 grams below. You can even go down to 0.2 grams, 0.3 grams now. Guys are using in casting. But for me, traditionally, no more than 6. I think if you do some research into the internet, you'll see a lot of the ultralight fishing specialists as well will set that limit at most probably about 6 grams.
Yeah, I do by holes, so for me it's like 5 and under.
Yeah, I think the limit is about 6. I hardly go up to 6. I think the heaviest I've gone in the last year. Things are going to change a little bit in the future now, to be honest. But in I would say right up to now, literally 3.5 grams, 4 grams at the most. A lot of the JDM stuff that I'm buying from Bass Day, old Rapala stuff as well from the Countdown Elites. All of that was 3.5 grams, 4 grams, 2.5 grams, and not anything more than that.
And below.
And below.
Yeah. I think a lot of people have a very loose, and it's open to interpretation, because even in the industry, it's not really well defined.
It's not. That's the problem. As soon as you put UL stamped onto a rod, and then you go 1 gram to 25 gram or whatever on the rod, you basically put yourself into that ultralight range, because now you can cast anything from 1 gram up to 5 grams or 6 grams. You can now, if you want to cast heavier weights or heavier lures, you can do that now, because it gives you that extra flexibility. But if you want to solely be just focused on the ultralight stuff, you have to fit inside of a certain category. Otherwise, you're going outside of that category and you're just using the name as ultralight. I mean, this is one thing I think I struggled with in the Middle East. A lot of the guys were saying they were ultralight fishing, but in theory, they weren't. They were using a rod that was weighted from 1 gram to 25 gram, and then they were using 12 pound line, and then they were using, 3,000 and 4,000 reels and stuff like that. Just because the rod says it's ultralight, now everything's ultralight. Everything has to be balanced. Everything from the lure all the way through to the rod needs to be balanced.
My favorite pet peeve is like having everything like ultralight, and they put on like a heavy leader.
Yes, it defeats the purpose.
Yeah, and I go like, okay,
it defeats the purpose of being and most finesse and ultralight fishermen will tell you this. Guys that spend a lot of time looking to keep their tackle as light as possible, and to target, it doesn't matter what size fish, but to target fish on ultralight tackle, you have to classify to a class and keep it inside their class. If you're going outside of that boundary, then you're going into a different world of fishing. And that's my personal.
What makes you not which do you prefer? Okay, big fish or difficult fish?
Difficult fish.
Difficult fish.
Difficult fish for me is most probably the top. Is most probably the one you go to. You always want to, targeting big fish. And I think this was the big thing in Dubai when I was there. Everyone was trying to get those big kingfish, those big queenfish. Get onto social media, look at the size of this queenfish I caught, to the size of this barracuda I caught. But where the skill comes in is actually targeting fish that you can't get. That's where I think is the skill, because it could take you ages to eventually get it. Targeting big fish in a shoal that's swimming past, chasing bait fish. I mean, that's a proven fact. When I was living in Qatar, I used to wake up to queenfish smashing bait fish up against the bank. You literally run out and you just cast your lure into this bait ball, and sooner or later you got a big queenfish or big kingfish on the run. But now go and target the little fish that's trying to get away from all the big fish. That's where the skill comes in, and that's once again I think.
Well, here's a very good example, and obviously you know him, Barry.
Oh, Barry, yes, of course I know Barry.
Right. So Barry, he's you cannot say that Barry is not a big fish specialist.
He is a big fish specialist, but Barry's unique.
Yeah,
Barry's was probably, if anybody has had the luxury, and I'm thankful that you introduced me to him, because obviously it was through you that I got to know Barry.
yeah.
Barry's a humble fisherman, but a very experienced big fisherman. And a lot of people don't know.
He always downplays
Downplays himself.
himself
I
and
don't think he's
his
not
skill and
ego
everything.
orientated. He's not ego orientated. He's not
Yeah.
chasing down
And
all sorts of things.
actually I'm gonna have him on here as well, because like I'm slowly going through all my fishing buddies and stuff. But see, Gary, you you've met Barry.
Yep.
Okay. And in fact, you can even really go down to the detail when it comes to Barry. GT specialist.
GT and tuna, I think it is.
Yeah, but I mean, for him, it's like GT. He loves his GT. But he went nuts for ultralight fishing for brim.
Yeah, no. I think I was there that night, me and you, we were targeting there under the bridge for Ikeys and all sorts of, black and stuff.
And that's the only fish that really gets him going.
Yeah. You know why? Because it's the thrill of the hunt. They're not easy fish to catch.
They're not easy. Exactly. They're not easy. And a lot of people don't realize that these bastards could be in front of you. You could have a tackle shop behind you, throw everything at this damn thing, and they won't eat.
They're very hard fish to catch. I can honestly say, obviously fishing in those environments in Abu Dhabi, used to see them, but they were very elusive when it came to taking lures and stuff. I mean, most people that catch them is bycatch. You catch them just by the off chance.
Yeah. Very few people can actually go out and just say, I'll target these suckers.
Yeah, that's it. If you're going to go out, like you and Barry used to say, when you used to go out, we're going to target these fish, and that's it. You don't want to target anything else. Anything else is a bycatch if you do catch it. But I'm targeting this specific fish, and it's hunting that specific fish, which I think makes it thrilling for an angler, especially that's target species.
I'm telling you, Barry and I, we had some really great nights, and we always look forward to summers, because this is when it happened.
You guys still do the fishing at night?
Not anymore, unfortunately.
Is it just because that whole area up in
that's been closed? Yeah. But I think what can be done is park from one side and cross the highway and go to the other side. The fish are still there, obviously.
Okay.
They don't know that the construction's going on and all that. But we'll see.
A little bit outside of Abu Dhabi, and you move towards, how do you call it, coming into Abu Dhabi, where I can't remember that town before you come in.
Yeah. I know that. Yeah.
I used to go and fish down there, and there used to be a lot of those boat launching places. Literally off the road for the local fishermen, and there's some nice places.
There's
that's been developed.
I think what's gonna happen is one of these days he and I are gonna have a chat, and then after that, we'll because I'm gonna have Dylan on the show as well.
Okay.
So things are definitely going to be going towards that as far as the conversation is concerned. But okay, so I think we're both on the same boat when it comes to difficult fish, because for me, like, I don't mean this in a bad way, but I honestly believe that given the resources and the time, anyone can catch a big fish.
Yeah, it's a given fact. I mean, it's I think a lot of people they target the big fish because they just like that that
adrenaline rush.
That adrenaline. I mean, don't get me wrong, I haven't really done big GT fishing, and I know it's hard, it's not easy. I mean, you can see the other guys are pulled apart, the tackles literally pulled apart and stuff like it, and some people enjoy that part of the adrenaline, that part of the rush. But for me, my viewpoint on something like it, that's why I've never done it, because it hasn't really interested me. I've been more of, let me go and hunt these little holes, and let me go and fish these small little channels, or let me go fish these little sand flats, and let me go see what's hanging around in these small little areas. And sometimes when I used to fish there in Abu Dhabi, I used to come across these places, man, and they were teeming with fish. And I mean, sometimes they were decent sized bream and grunter that you stang on, and they were perfect for ultralight tackle because they give a nice fight on light tackle. And because they in such a small environment, they fight harder because they're trying to get away. They've got limited places they can go and hide and stick away and stuff like that. So it's for me, that was the thrill of hunt. I was stalking more than
You're hunting, man. You're hunting
more than just throwing a lure into deep water hoping for something to bite. I was physically wrecking through the bushes, looking for places. Sometimes I used to sit in the back of my head, now if I get lost here or if I get stuck here, if I get hurt here, no one will ever find me. That's the type of fishing I enjoy doing. It's just getting lost in the middle of nowhere.
Let me put this in perspective, because a lot of people don't understand when you say that. Okay. So guys, Gary is the type of guy that bought this really happened. He bought an inflatable dinghy off of a supermarket shelf. Okay. Paddled to the freaking mangroves and had a picnic there, and that was his weekend.
Yeah, I still remember one of the sessions. I finished work. Like you said, I had this inflatable dinghy that I used to carry around in the back boot of my car with a little 2.5 horsepower motor, and that was my first setup. And then after work, especially if it was like on a Friday, going into a weekend or whatever it might be, I would literally just load my car up with some water and some snacks and stuff like that with my fishing tackle, blow up the boat, put the motor on, and I used to just disappear into the mangroves. And I would disappear in for a weekend. I wouldn't come back. I'd literally go out there and camp on those islands. I still remember I was sitting there the one day, I had a little fire going, I was barbecuing some meat, and I had my tent up, and I was just sitting there taking in this, the sights and the sounds of the mangroves as the sun was setting. And in the distance, I saw this thing moving closer and closer. And I was thinking, what the heck is this? I'm in the middle of nowhere. And the next minute, the shape becomes a little bit more defined. And it's a guy on a kayak at probably about 6 o'clock in the evening. And he just comes out of nowhere. He comes up onto the beach, moors the kayak onto the sand. He walks up to me and he says, sorry if I bother you. Is it okay if I join you? And it's like, I was a little bit dubious at the time because, a guy just pitched up in the middle of nothing. Who's this? If something happens here, no one will ever find my body. And he just sits down and he just basically says, he's just an adventurer, bored over the weekends, and he just hops on his kayak and he does the same thing. So basically he said, is it okay if I spend the night here with you on the beach? And I said, yeah, no problem. Pulled out his sleeping bag. He actually went to bed. It was probably about 7 o'clock. The sun hadn't even set yet. Pulls out his sleeping bag, lies straight on the beach, head in the sand, falls fast asleep. In the morning when I woke up, it's gone again, disappeared. And I thought to myself, wow, that is something very unique. And that's how I then started looking at doing this, was just getting lost. And there was another group of guys that I met along the way that used to do the same thing. Friday afternoons after work or whatever it might be, straight into the mangroves. And then we'd literally go and barbecue and camp out there and then sit there literally as the tide was coming in on the deck chairs with the water coming right up above.
I remember, I saw pictures of that.
I saw pictures of it with the barbecue floating on a crate.
Yep. I mean, that's
what it was. And that's the enjoyment because, and it was fishing. As we were busy eating, we were fishing constantly through the night into the following morning. It's literally by Sunday, you're so knackered, so sunburnt. All you wanted was your bed. But it was something that I enjoyed doing. It was just getting lost. And I still do the same thing here, Kit.
Wow.
Yeah, still do obviously there's no islands and stuff here, but basically.
But back then you weren't married with a daughter, dude.
No, but I'm now fishing, trout rivers and stuff in Wales and in other areas now, where literally sometimes I am by myself. And, literally once you actually start the actual journey, there is no way to come back
Sure.
unless you go back the same way you came in.
Yeah.
Because literally you got literally hills
Yeah.
on every side of you, and there's a lot of farmland,
Yeah.
dodging cows and dodging horses and all that type of stuff while you're fishing, and sheep and stuff like that. Makes it exciting. But in the back of your mind, all I'm doing is looking at my phone going, there's no cell reception here. If I break my leg here, or if I fall into the water and I get myself into a very difficult circumstance, no one will ever know where I am. They will find me one day. But, it's part of that I enjoy doing. I really enjoy it. And I can't sit still. You can't put me on a chair and say, fish. I have to keep moving. I've got to keep exploring, and I've got to keep looking for that end goal. I'll eventually find it.
Yeah. Okay. So another thing that a lot of people kind of don't understand, certainly both you and I know this, or the aspect of this, but how different is it being sponsored to
Okay.
being sponsored to just being not right? Because a lot of people, they see it, they go like, oh, that's a beautiful life. So what's it like?
Okay. It's got its pros and its cons, to be honest with you. I think initially when you selected me to join part of the Rappler team when I was in Qatar, I think it was at the stage.
Yeah.
It was an absolute dream come true, because what you always dreamed about as a kid, being a professional angler, is like right at the top of your Christmas wish list. And when that day finally comes around where you are selected or you manage to get into that realm, it opens up so much emotion, and it opens up so much drive and way that you're going to be approaching that new, I wouldn't say your new way of life, but your new way of fishing, should I say, because everything then changes. And then I think what happens is the first part of it, it's that settling in process. Just getting an understanding about the sponsor, getting understanding what it's all about, what's the limitations, what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do, because through marketing and stuff, you've got to be very careful what you say and all the rest of it. And I think that embedding period, once that was done, and all the honeymoon period was over, and once you got settled into the groove, I think what tends to happen, and it doesn't happen to, I would say it happens to most, there's a very few that it doesn't happen to. I think it gets to their head that they're actually sponsored, and then automatically they think they're holier than thou. The whole mindset changes, their whole demeanor changes when they're talking to people. I'm a sponsor, I'm a sponsored angler, and I'm sponsored by this company, and look at me, wow, and stuff like that. And a lot of people, in awe of it, because everyone's trying to chase down the same dream. I think it's the same with you, Kit. A lot of people used to send mails, send me SMSs. How could I become a sponsored angler? How can I get in? What do I need to do? What do I need to do? I need to sign anything? Can you pull some strings for me? Can you introduce me to the people that make the decisions and stuff like that? So a lot of people, I think, were more onto the element of what can I get out of it, instead of actually, what your role and responsibilities are as a professional angler. I think most people don't take into consideration it is a lot of hard work. There is a lot going on behind the scenes. A lot of people don't understand. Like anything else, there's politics that makes its appearance. It's trying to please a lot of people. So it basically then sometimes dilutes that whole, how do you call it, that whole experience. The other thing that a lot of people don't really understand as well when it comes to being a sponsored angler is you're pretty much locked down to a product or product set, and you can't really deviate it off too much, because what ends up happening, your social media posts are checked to make sure that you're consistent with your contracts. with regards to the product that you're actually using. So you become very limited. So like me, like I said at the beginning of this interview with Kit, I like to explore. I like to try new things. I like to experiment with new tackle. And when you're a sponsored angler, you are very bound to that product. You cannot do that exploring anymore. And for the time that I was with my previous sponsor, that's what I felt like. I felt very claustrophobic. It was a lot of product out there I could touch, but I could not play with. And I think that was getting to me eventually. So it made it hard. So a very conscious decision had to be made. Do I carry on, or do I get back to what I preferred doing? So yeah, it's a very tricky one for anybody that's trying to get on. You've got to be able to, how do you call it? You've got to be able to understand what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah. I think what a lot of people don't understand, because they only see the glitz, the glamour, or what they perceive it to be, right?
Yeah.
But what they don't understand is that you're going to be severely limited.
Very severely limited.
And whatever they give you would be pretty much the tools that you have. And boy, you better know what you're doing.
Yes.
Because
that's what also made it very difficult for me. Just because I'm ultralight, as what we've been discussing. The sponsor was very limited in the ultralight sections.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that I was using when I was out in the Middle East were either discontinued or completely removed from the brand's portfolio completely. Some of the other regions had access to it, so I had to tap into those regions to supplement what I was trying to do. But obviously, regionally based sponsorship, you regionally based product wise, so you cannot bring stuff in from another region and then use it here, especially if it's not in their product set. The problems that you have with that is then you start people start then asking a lot of questions. And I understand that it's 100% accurate. If I'm using a product and I'm promoting it on my social media platforms that I'm using this product, the first thing people ask was, where can I buy that? Well, you can't buy it here. If you're looking for it, you've got to go to Japan, or you've got to go to Australia, or you've got to go to the US. Now, obviously, like Kit knows, and we've got contacts in all these different regions. So if we want to reach out to get a specific product set, which is non-existent or doesn't exist in the region that you're in, is very, very difficult. So, a lot of people can't. And so, well, that doesn't help me anything if I've got to go out to Australia to go and look for a lure that you're using now. I want to know why you don't have it here. So I used to get asked a lot of those type of questions, which used to put me into a very, very awkward position.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and it's one of those limiting factors. I'm a firm believer, when it comes to sponsorship. I reckon people should be given a time to do it, but you should be limited. You've got to constantly keep looking for that new face, that new person out there that's got the drive and who's hungry in the beginning, because after a period of time, it will nosedive. So, and then when you start losing focus, you're not promoting the brand anymore. So I'm a firm believer, every year people should be turning people over.
Yeah.
And I also personally been stop bringing the kids into this now. Because
I think the kids are very important.
Very important.
Unfortunately, the most ideal people wouldn't be fit for the position.
No, it's one thing I always used to see at all the trade shows that I used to go to. A lot of the youngsters, it's what can I get? You want to use my social media platforms, and you want to use me to represent your band, but what are you going to give me? It's like give me. Walk around, take packets, the big packets of these big shopping bags, and all they do is they go to all the stores and they just basically throw everything into this bag. They just want, oh, what lure can I have? They walk right up to the stand. Oh, I like that lure. Can I have it? That's
wow.
The way. Yeah, and that's not where it is. At the end of the day, some of those guys that are pro staff and actually represent a brand, they fish very hard to get to that level. Some people don't get sponsorship that easy. I know the US market, I mean, they got hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people all vying for the same position. And you've got to have like a CV when it comes to fishing. What competitions have you fished? What's your ranking? What type of boat do you use? Blah, 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 blah. It makes it very, very hard. And I know there's people out there that are better than me. Kit knows that. Everyone knows it. It's that some of these people just don't want to get involved in that because they like the freedom behind everything. You know, I fish at my own pace and my own time.
Yeah.
So someone just switched the light on you. Ghosts in the darkness.
So yeah, I mean, I guess that's something, but it's also very difficult for people to picture out unless they experience it. The best that we could do is literally just share our experiences and all that, but it's
that's
for
what
some people. For some people, they would still say like, hey, stuff for free, whatever.
And I think that's where most of it is. Most of it is what it's most of what I hear. And this is all my opinion anyway, and this is the way that I see the world through my eyes. A lot of people are in it for what do I get at the end of the day? What is it? What are you going to give me? And if I'm not getting it, then I'm going somewhere else to go and get it. And then what they do is they end up, blackmailing, and I would say blackmailing. Maybe that's too of a harsh.
It's like holding hostage.
Yeah, it's like holding hostage. If you don't, do this, I'm not going to do this.
Yeah.
It's and I'm a firm believer. You should just be thankful. First of all, at the end of the day, I mean, if you're getting demo or prototype goodies to test, and you're one of the very first to actually test those goodies and stuff in the market, that holds weight, because they don't just give that to anybody to do. Yeah. And I think a lot of people have actually lost that understanding of what that's all about.
Yeah. Another thing that a lot of people kind of don't understand is the pressure.
Yes.
The pressure that you're on when you wear the shirt.
Yes. Yeah, there definitely comes. You're representing a brand. So obviously this means when you're out at trade shows, or if you're out fishing, representing the brand, even be it in local, just local areas where you're fishing, or lakes or streams or whatever it is, and you're wearing that cap, or you're wearing that jersey, or you're wearing something, or you're using the fishing tackle or the lures or whatever it is, you're representing that brand. You've got to be very careful. I mean, I remember when I first started off with the Salt Rappler thing, I didn't realize how aggressive the social media was, both on Instagram and Facebook, where it came to everyone was like looking at everything with like a needle, trying to pick up flaws in everything you did.
Yeah.
They're rabid,
dude. They're rabid.
No, we don't do it that way. I mean, I used to get a lot of grief from guys in Australia and America who went fishing with Ultralight and then losing fish. And you post a video of you hooking into a big golden trevally. It basically spools you, snaps you off and stuff. And then a guy turns around and says, you can't even land a small little fish like that on 4-pound line. Yeah, in America, we're landing marlin on 4-pound line. Yeah. Different environment. You're sitting on a boat. You can chase that fish down all day long you want to, as long as you've got enough diesel in your tanks. You can chase that fish down all day long. You can tie the fish out. Yes, you've landed it on 4-pound line. I'm limited. I'm standing on a rock. I can't move anyway. I'm standing on a small little island. I must probably move 5 meters that way and 4 meters that way. I've got no room for movement. So the fish, I'm at the mercy of the fish. Yep. So yes, things are going to happen. And then even if I'm dropping rubbish, if something falls out of my hand and lands on the ground, I've got people going, "Oh, you're a litter bug. You drop rubbish on the floor when you go fishing." Man, you don't understand the circumstance of why it slipped out of my hand and has landed on the floor. I'm still going to pick it up and throw it away.
You know what's interesting, dude? You know what's interesting? What's funny also is that Suffix is actually pretty good when it comes to fishing line, because Gary was sponsored by Suffix, so he had Suffix fishing line. When you say that it breaks at 4, like the nano braid that you were using, right? If it breaks at 4 pounds, maybe you'd be lucky if it breaks at 6.
Yeah.
The ones that are labeled 4-pound test in the States are not 4-pound test. They probably break at 10.
Same. Yeah, and I think this is what a lot of people don't realize. They just look at packaging, but they do not understand the technicality behind everything they're using. So yeah, it is a difficult one, Kit. It's, you know, and I think that's what eventually got to me at the end of last year, was just I was tired of justifying my fishing to others. You know, it was just, I just couldn't do it anymore. I mean, I'm not going to go down to exactly what the cause was, but it was June last year, and I still remember it very clearly. I was out fishing, and then there was just noise around me, and I just thought to myself, nah, this is not working for me anymore. You know, it's just I can't be scripted into my fishing. You know, I can't be like an actor where it comes to, this is what you've got to say, and this is how you've got to react, and this is the way you've got to stand, and this is why. That's scripted fishing to me. Fishing needs to be natural. It needs to be in the moment. You've got to be in that zone. You pull me out of my zone, I've lost interest. You know, that's why when you go fishing, you focus. You go in and you target. You know what you want to do. You know what you want to achieve, and you know, you put a lot of effort into getting into that mindset, into that zone. And by being pulled out of that zone and that mindset every 10-15 minutes is not fishing to me. Not. And I just couldn't do it. That's why you'll also notice on my social media accounts, I don't do many videos because I can't script a video. I like to just, if I'm in the zone, that experience is my experience, not someone else's.
Yeah.
And all I want to do is, I don't mind sharing that experience through a photograph or something like that of what I did. Even like one of my colleagues at work says, "Oh, you're catching little tiddlers," as he calls it, small little brown trout, small little fish. But a lot of people don't realize how much work has actually gone into actually catching that little fish. How I've actually had to basically swim up a river, climb under trees, fall down a rock embankment to get to a tiny little pool where that little fish has been hiding to catch it.
Yeah.
And this is what a lot of people don't understand.
Wild brown trout are not the easiest to catch.
Yeah, depending on the circumstance, because a lot of the rivers here, they hold a lot. You can catch them literally with hand line if you wanted to, because the pools are just so full of them. It's the really unique ones that are hanging in the fast moving water, like you would typically see. You know, you've got all these boulders and rocks, and you've got all these little gullies running between all the rocks. You've got trout that hang around in all those little areas. That's where I like targeting. Those little pools, standing downstream, casting upstream, and bringing the lure down through. Your lure doesn't track like you would fish in an open water. The lure actually falls down into all these gullies. So your retrieve is like basically stop, start, because you're watching the lure as it's moving through the water. As soon as you get into a nice little bit of open water, you retrieve, and then all of a sudden the current picks the lure up, bangs it all over the rocks again, and then eventually stabilizes itself, and then you back off again. And that's what I enjoy fishing. I tried to bring a little bit of fly fishing into the ultralight lure fishing side of things, the same type of approach. So yeah, that's it's one of those
things. After this whole sponsorship period of your life,
it took up 8 years of my life.
8 years.
8 years. It was 3 years. 3 years in the Middle East and 5 years here.
It's funny to actually hear that, knowing I was the one who did that to you.
8 years. 8 years.
Wow. Well, thank you.
I wasn't, you know, with the 3 years that I spent with you under your leadership in Dubai, with us. I mean, it was myself, I think you, Rodney, and then
there was a few, because I had it structured.
Yeah, you had it structured on who you wanted. You know.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, I handpicked people because what the structure was. It's like for light tackle, I wanted you guys. See, this is how I survived. You know, because initially it was just supposed to be me. And you know how I love attention. So I told myself, like, okay, I have to think of something so that I wouldn't be the one who's visible.
Yes.
You know, so
you're in the background.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I always tell people that it's chess.
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of people didn't know that I was the one who was like responsible for things. Because guess what? When you're in the position to give, a lot of people will ask for free shit.
No, we just spoke about that. No, that's what it's all about. What do I?
Yeah.
What is in for me? Okay, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. And the first,
Yeah.
what do I get? It's not
And-
thank you. Let's
yeah.
work on, let's work on the partnership, and let's look how we can move forward, and what can I give you and what can you give me back in return. It's it's a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah.
It's giving and it's giving, and
Yeah.
and working.
So my structure was pretty simple. It was it was at the very bottom of the tier list was Ibrahim.
Yeah.
And he was new. But I wanted to show people that even if you're new,
you still got an opportunity.
Yeah. Okay. And then after that, there was
Ahmad, wasn't it?
Homemade.
Yeah.
Homemade. Yeah, Homemade. Same thing. Or actually, it was Homemade and then Ibrahim.
Yeah.
And then there's you, right? This was something that this could be you, right?
Yeah.
Someone who knows his stuff, specialized and all that. And then the Suleiman brothers.
Yes, I remember the Suleiman brothers.
Right? Yeah. So they're the guys that everyone aspires to be.
Yeah, because everyone brought in a bit of uniqueness, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And that was the whole
and we
idea.
all came from different genres, different
and that
approaches.
was the whole idea. It was so diverse. And that there was someone for something. Now, the reason why I asked you, and the reason why I said like you were perfect for this, and no one outside of the organization actually knew, right? And they're just like, Kit, you're running things. We trust you. Do whatever you want. So I said, okay. Summertime is dead time. Remember that?
Yeah,
summertime was dead.
You can't fish during summer.
Yeah, summertime was dead. And then I said, like, I have to create something so that the company would still earn. And remember that you're dealing with lines, you're dealing with hooks, you're dealing with lures, right? The whole shebang.
Rods.
Rods, and the only thing we didn't have at that time were reels. So we had rods, reels, lines, lures. What the hell am I going to do in the summer? And guess what? Summer isn't just 3 months.
Yeah, it's a long time.
It's a long spell here. It almost stretches up to like 6 months of the year, because that's when it heats up and that's when it sort of cools down. And what am I going to do, or what am I going to sell at that time? So that's where I decided to actually have light tackle get popular at this time. Because remember, before this, Leng, Kelvin, and a few other guys, and Richie, I'm sure you met him. We were fly fishing, and we were fly fishing in the summers.
Yeah.
So I knew that there was fish to be caught in the summer, only that I knew that it couldn't be fly fishing because Rapala wasn't doing fly fishing stuff, right?
Yeah.
So the best thing was ultralight.
Yeah.
And that was literally how ultralight fishing started here.
Yeah,
and
we were very limited. I mean,
yeah,
the ultralight scene was near non-existent. I mean, you had to reach abroad to get some. Everyone was, GT tuna, heavy jigs off the rocks, targeting, the big pelagic species that used to be floating.
And a lot of people didn't even realize that
you struggled. You had to really, if I walked into a shop and there was like someone had brought in like a Shimano ultralight rod, and it's like only one because no one brought anything in. So one person might go, oh yeah, just part of the shipment, just chuck me in one of those rods and then put it in his store, and it would stand there literally caking dust because no one was interested in seeing this little 5-foot rod or this little 6-foot rod there because no one wanted to use it. I used to walk and go, yeah, I'll have some of that, and I'll grab that rod off the shelf, and it was probably and even getting those little Shimano 500 reels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That was hard.
Like
Very, very
500,
hard.
500,
The lures,
1000.
that was another difficult thing.
I mean, getting anything under 2500 was difficult.
It was very difficult. It
Yeah.
wasn't easy because everyone looked at it. I still remember when you eventually got all that Gamoku stuff in, when that storm range of ultralights came in, the cranks and the soft plastics that
Soft plastics, jig heads, and all that. Yeah.
the bulky rings and the straights and the the hybrid, the hypno grubs and all that type of, and the Gamoku dents and all of those, when they started coming out, they couldn't, I think once the scene had actually kicked in, you can keep that stuff on the shelf because everybody was looking at it going,
everybody was buying it.
Everyone was like, basically,
this is
I
what
still remember you telling me to keep my hands off the shelf and don't take all the stock off.
Yeah, because you were buying. And that was crazy because a lot of people don't even know how it started, right?
A lot of people don't.
That was it. Now they know the story, right? I mean, that's what I was saying before. It was like more like playing chess, because guess what? We needed to sell, and the company would not survive if we didn't have anything viable in the summer.
Yeah, you had to move to that ultralight. That genre, it had to eventually make itself known.
So that was it. After that, before you know it, we actually did good sales in the summer and in the winter time. Obviously, there's like all the other types of fishing.
Yeah.
And that was it. But I remember the day when I told you to specialize. Because you were like, okay, but what am I gonna do? I was like, dude, light tackle.
Yeah.
Because before that, you were doing everything.
Yeah, I was mixing it up a bit, just to get a bit of a feel of what was going on.
Yeah.
I mean, because you were limited to what you can get, you were pretty much locked down, in what was
I mean, you used to make your own tackle just because of this, the limit.
That's the reason. I was in my workshop. I ended up reaching out to the US, buying all those do-it molds and all those powder coating, lead-based jig heads, going down to 1 gram, 2.5 gram, 3 grams, and stuff like that, and getting all the hooks to facilitate that, and then buying, the soft plastics, and then cutting them smaller, and then obviously working on lathes and stuff, like trying to make lures smaller. I was always looking with trying to go, trying to get as light as I possibly can, and it was a challenge. It was very, very hard. Casting my mind back now, thinking about everything I had to go through to try get that done, and how easy it is nowadays just to do it. We didn't have the luxury of this online shopping that we have now. You had to basically scrounge everywhere you could to find what you wanted, and if you couldn't, you had to then look at modifying. And that's the only way that it could be done, and I was even looking when I was back in SA, when I used to go back on holidays, is go and look for stuff. When eventually I went out to Macau in 2014, I mean, I was exposed to a lot of stuff there. You could buy the BFS reels, you could buy the ultralight reels from Shimano and Daiwa. You could get access to all that ultralight tackle, which was very, very easy because of their close connection with the JDM market. So it was one of those things that opened up, and I would love to have it opened up a little earlier, sooner, not now, a little bit later down the line, should I say. But once again, guys are pushing the boundaries still. Guys are still experimenting with making things lighter and doing it. I would say now, my new adventure is just around the corner. I don't want to go into too much detail about it, but I've been sucked into another realm of fishing. So I want to give it a try and see what it's like. So we'll see. And this is Japanese domestic heavy lure market, big lure market.
I see. Okay. Well, we're approaching, or you're in a new chapter right now. how different is it from before you were sponsored?
Oh, okay. Completely different. I don't have to keep monitoring my social media. I don't have to keep. I've now cut my Facebook down just to the people and close friends. That's it. Instagram is still what it is. Facebook now is used for personal and family, and obviously just showcasing my family in most of it, and then my so-called non-fishing adventures. My fishing adventures and where I'm moving now is more into my Instagram page. So what it's given me now, it's given me the freedom again to choose where I didn't have the freedom before. So this has now opened me up again to using the products that I could only see from a distance and not actually physically play with. So it's back to new rods, back to new reels, back to new lures, back to experimenting with different line now, all sorts of things, even different product sets from bags and carry cases and all that type of stuff now.
So from uh the what okay what what gear are you using now in the type of fishing that you're doing?
Okay, so what I'm using now, I'm using customized. I've actually had customized rods built for me. So I reached out to a customized a rod builder here, which has facilitated through my specifications and stuff to build rods for me.
Okay.
So I've got a couple of those rods. I've also gone onto online stores and bought stuff off the online stores as well, just to have a bit of a feel what that's like. The lures that I'm getting now out of domestic, Japanese domestic market, as you know, so
Okay.
Bass Day. Also, then looking at some of these names I can't even mention because they're just so tongue twisted
Sure.
names. But I'm using a lot of the ultralight lures. It's handcrafted, hand painted stuff, so they're not cheap. They're quite expensive.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm getting through some of that line once again. Varivis, looking at Seagar and all of that. So I'm going back to stuff I might have used before I joined my sponsor. So what ends up happening is I'm now going back to the experimentation of that, and the rods and the reels are the same still. Shimano, Conquest, ours, the high-end BFS reels. I'm looking through those. I'm getting those. Same with your Twin Powers and your Stellas and all the other stuff that I've still got.
Yep.
So I'm going back into that type of stuff, and then just doing the odd modification to the reels. Handles and bearings and
Yeah.
spools and stuff like that, just to do a little bit of change of the aesthetics, should I say.
What spec is the rod?
Oh, it's basically the one I'm fishing with now. The blank that I've got, I think it's a Mazzurri rod blank. It comes out of Europe somewhere.
Okay.
It's a 1 to 5 gram. It's only 5 and 9, but it's built off a very close replica of a Duo React. I don't know if
Okay.
you've heard of it. The whole rod weighs 44 grams.
Okay.
It's very, very light.
That's complete with guides and reel seat
Guides and everything. So this rod is basically just a reel seat on a blank with titanium, with the titanium Fuji guides. So the guides are really, really light.
Yeah.
I managed to bring it in on 46 grams. But the issue that he had was when he actually placed the reel seat, he actually forgot a spacer. So what he had to do was he had to add like a rubber grommet on the actual
Grommet. Yes, yes, yes.
on the actual, which increased the weight. I mean, he was very apologetic about it. It was a mistake he had made. But I mean, feeling 2 grams, you're not going to really feel on a lot.
Like under
All I
50
said to him,
grams.
this is my Duo React. I wanted,
Yeah.
because I've got a Duo React, I mean, and that thing's extremely light. I said, this is the specifications. I want it shorter, but I wanted less than 44 grams if possible. And he tried, and just unfortunately a mistake. So, and it was a very costly mistake because obviously I didn't want to go down through another.
Okay. I know the answer to this again, but let me ask you this. Why the pursuit of light gear? Because you're a big guy. A lot of people don't realize.
People don't realize I'm over 6 foot, and I'm probably 200 odd pounds now. Who knows?
Yeah.
Because
you lost weight.
Yeah, and I've lost weight.
Yeah, you lost weight. You're a big boy.
I think it's that saying that says, small people like big things and big people like small things. I think I've just gone into that mindset, literally. I think I just got so tired of carrying heavy stuff around with me. All I wanted to do is just keep it light, keep it simple, but at the same time seeing what the possibility is and what you could catch. I mean, like I said, fishing some of those places in Abu Dhabi, I mean, we used to land fish, big golden trevally on ultralight stuff. I still remember one of the guys that came fishing with me the one day, his name was Brian, and he, jokingly in the car, he actually said to me he would like to catch a kingfish on his ultralight stuff, and it was probably 30 minutes in on a Gumoku bulky ring.
Yeah,
he caught it was probably about a 7 kilo kingfish on it. It just hooked it right in the lip.
Yeah,
so
but that's kingfish. That's not difficult.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But still on light tackle, I know they're not the hardest fighting fish out there, but on the gear that he had set up, he's lucky.
It's literally barracuda plus one run.
No, plus that's it. And then straight after that, decent sized queenfish, and straight after that, golden trevally. All on the same set.
I think on ultralight, golden trevally would actually give you a more hairy experience than kingfish.
I still remember hooking in the giant trevally on that space. Barry was with us fishing at that.
Yeah.
And I think I was running a GoPro at the time, and I think it's still on my Instagram feed somewhere. And all Barry kept standing in the background saying, "This fish is taking you downtown." That's what you hear Barry saying in the background. This fish is taking you downtown.
There was one time I was fishing with Faisal.
Yeah.
Faisal Al Ali over at the Palm. And he saw me fight a fish for 23 minutes.
Wow.
On ultralight. And I told him that 90% chance I will lose this fish. I would say, I said, like, I'd be very confident to say about 98% I would lose this fish. It was a cobia.
Oh geez, okay.
Yeah, so fought it, and sure enough, man, this guy hooked it in one of the fronts, and we were at the tip. And when it went running towards the Atlantis, I said I had a
fish in that stretch.
And I said, like, I have a shot.
Yeah.
But once it turned and went towards Burj Al Arab, I said, like, I'm gonna lose this fish. Yeah, because that was like such a huge space, right?
Yeah.
But I was also casting a bulky ring at the back of a manta.
Yeah, because they used to have a lot of manta rays that used to swim up and down.
Yeah. And sorry, not manta, but it was a cow nose. And then a cobia just went and inhaled it.
Yeah.
But that was on 2.75 pound mono leader.
Jeez, that's light.
Yeah.
That is very light.
And I had it on my Instagram, but when they changed things, I lost it. But it was it was like a video on my Instagram. And Faisal, who was filming the whole thing, couldn't really process everything.
Yeah.
Because he's like, how are you fighting that fish? And it's obviously big, on such a tiny rod and reel.
This is so a lot of people don't understand.
It's especially when I mentioned, like, I only have like 2.75 pound leader on this. They just don't understand how you could actually fight something
People
like
underestimate what ultralight tackle is actually capable of doing. I think a lot of people underestimate it. It's just, if you know,
yeah.
this is why, even when I watch the people fish for trout, the type of tackle they use to catch trout is you literally can go and catch GT with it.
Yeah. You know who else is enjoying ultralight fishing in a different part of the world, and he's doing so well with people all around him, just like, they cannot process Rodney.
Yes, old Rodney in the US.
Yes, so he's in Tennessee.
I've been watching him on Facebook.
Yeah, and the guys there still haven't figured out what he's doing, even if he's literally showing his gear.
Yeah.
And week in and week out, he says, like, what really confuses me is that these people, they check out his gear, and then the next week still fish the same place using the same gear, expecting a different result.
Yeah.
But here comes Rodney, doesn't know anything about the place, just his knowledge that he picked up here, obviously, and he wasn't bad. So he goes, fishes there, catches a lot of fish, and then he goes, man, people are probably just bored. You're probably like bored, and what do you call this? Fishing the same fish and everything. But then he's actually catching the bigger fish.
That's what I say. A lot of people underestimate ultralight fishing. People are so stuck in that zone. I mean, there's a big ultralight fishing community. They don't call it ultralight; they call it LRF, light fishing.
Yeah.
So basically, these guys also JDM, buying small little rubber plastics and little plastics and stuff like that, little grubs and stuff like that, small little hooks. And the same thing again, they go and drop and these small little lures off the side of harbor walls and between little rock pools, catching little gobies and tiny little sea bass and stuff like that, targeting really small stuff. But what they're doing is they're target hunting. They're not after big fish. They're actually working up species catching.
Yeah.
So some guys have got 90 species of fish or 120 species of fish. And that's all they do. I mean, I don't know if you've noticed it now, but even in Japan, you can buy these little plastic water tanks. You can actually.
Yep.
And you put your little fish in there, and then they take photographs of it.
Yep.
Some of the stuff is tiny, man, tiny, but it's a new species you see for them. So that's one tick of their bucket hunting. That's it. It's fish hunting, and the guys really, really have a good time. And I mean, it's most probably one of the only groups I'm still following on my Facebook account, because like I said, my Facebook account's now gone just to family, but it's one of the only groups I still follow in there, because it's one of those communities that's run by these group of guys that is just so down to earth, and they're just so into just the fishing.
That's just it when it comes to
not a competition. It's not a competition who's the best at doing what.
Yeah.
It's let's see and showcase these unique fishes that you're actually catching, and those unique fishes is what the prizes are. You catch something unique, there's a prize associated to it.
And see, in Japan, it's for specific fish.
Yeah, that's it. That's
right.
It's for specific fish in Japan.
Ultralight could be anything.
Yes.
It's very versatile. And this is what I was telling people, because believe it or not, I'm actually doing a series now, Ultralight 101. So I'm in the series, I'm discussing like rods, reels, and basically the whole system. And in Japan, they made it an art form.
Yes.
Targeting specific fish like aji, mebaru, all these. The application outside of Japan is very varied. For us here, like for me, I use ultralight to target brim, grunter specifically, almost like a fly rod.
Yes.
From time to time, if I want a challenge, then I could target something, before it was more of an exhibition, just to show exactly, our line can do this, our leader material can do this, our lures can do this, and all that. And that was kind of like the purpose, Now, I use it as a search tool to know exactly what fish are there And if I catch a smaller version of this, chances are there's going to be a bigger version of this, which I could use bigger tackle for, you know? So someone actually is asking, Manny Gerby, he says, you're not really fighting the fish, you're more fighting to keep the line attached to the fish. That's kind of funny. Well, actually, yes and no, because if you actually know how to set your drag properly, it's not going to be you're literally fighting the fish. Only you're using a smaller gun.
That's it. I mean, at the end of the day, yes, you're taking a small gun to a very big
Gunfight.
gunfight. You need to know how to use that gun. If you can
Sure.
use the gun properly, and you
Yeah.
understand your tackle, and if it's balanced correctly, you can be unbelievable what you can actually catch with it. And that is, like I say, a lot of this is my personal experiences.
Yeah.
And the stuff that I've experimented with, and obviously what Kit's experimented with and stuff like that, has worked well for us.
I think
Obviously there's many different types of situations. Yes, I have been spooled. Yes, I have been I've been taken to town on big fish. I mean, that's just the rule. That's just how it goes, unfortunately.
It's part of the game.
Fish, you sometimes win fish. Sometimes it's to your advantage. Sometimes it's to that advantage. That area that we used to fish in Abu Dhabi there, off that breakwater that used to go in, was very deep. There was big golden trevally there. There was big big barracuda, and there was big queenfish hanging around there. You were guaranteed every fish you were going to get smashed up somehow. And you had to play it very, very carefully. Like I was saying to you, when I hooked into that GT, Barry stood there and he basically said to me, let off the drag, let the thing go, let the thing slow down, because as we know, they start off slowly and then all of a sudden they wake up and then they take off. And what that GT actually did to my favor was, I'm not GT, that golden trevally did for me. He turned into the sandbank. So as he turned into the sandbank, put him into the shallows, and that was perfect for Barry, because Barry was there in the sandbank actually waiting for that fish to turn in with a net. And I still remember Barry jumping in and diving, literally like he was diving for a football, bang, straight into the fish.
But Barry knows how to fish, and he knows how to anticipate.
That's the thing. It's anticipating what the fish's moves are going to be.
Yeah.
Sometimes fish are erratic and they go all over the place. The biggest problem I had with fishing in that area is if that fish gets you 50 meters off the bank, you're done for. Because once it gets into that main current in that channel, it uses the current to its advantage.
Yeah, it'll use it like
goes with the current, and it goes with the current very, very quickly.
Yeah,
or it goes against the current, and that means it's like trying to pull a dustbin lid out of the water, because it uses the flat body of its the fish uses its flat body to actually stop it from moving, and then you're just applying all this pressure. You've got just a head shake could end up snapping your leader knot. And it's just then loosening off your drag, let it go again, and then wait for it to stop, and then play it in again. And this is one thing that we learned. Some people just like to yank the thing in. I mean, if I'm using 30-pound or 40-pound leaders with 100-pound braid, I don't even have to worry. I'll just crank it in, set up the drag, and just wind. And that's what most people do. I actually like to play the fish. I actually like to see. It's like a tug of war. That's how I call it. You give some, I give some. We'll see how it goes and see who wins.
I remember a trip, and this is the thing with Barry. I remember a trip where we found like this stretch of water, and boy, was it dirty. It was dirty. It was just dirty. And we didn't expect that there were a lot of fish there.
You'll be surprised in dirty water.
Yeah. So we fished it, caught a lot, and Barry was netting the whole time.
But Barry was like that.
Barry doesn't care.
That's what I'm saying to you. He's a humble fisherman.
Yeah. But here's the thing, dude. After that, because I've caught majority of the fish, after that, we found Barry's wet dream. Okay? And I knew that I wasn't going to forgive myself if I wasn't the one who would give him what he needed that trip.
Okay.
Now, mind you, this is going to be like half a dozen fish
Mm.
versus one fish for him. Okay. We found tailing goldies.
Okay.
And and
Find them.
and and dude, not just one. This is like a shitload.
Okay.
Okay. And then they're tailing off of this island. And Barry just went nuts, man. And then I go, dude, go in front of the boat. I will drive and I will position you
Yeah.
so that you'll get shots. Man, they were so finicky because this is like really shallow water. So I had to position the boat literally in the middle of the channel so he could do long casts.
Mm.
But these fish were so fast and they were very spooked. So
Mm.
it took a while. But man, when he hooked that fish, we were just like, it's like we were two teenage boys,
Yeah.
and we didn't give like a rat's ass if we were so noisy, but there were some people that didn't. There were some people camping on the other bank,
Mm.
and they were like, what the hell are these guys on,
Yeah.
but man, um caught that fish, netted that fish, and I think it's one of the biggest goldies on ultralight tackle that I have ever seen.
Yeah, let me tell you, there's some big oldies floating around. My cousin still works in Abu Dhabi there for the royal family on their yachts. And he's actually explaining to me that in the harbors and stuff like that, they got goldies that come in there. He says they are massive, massive.
Yeah, yeah.
And because it's so secluded, and because you're not allowed to fish around those islands where the royalty live, it's just a paradise for fish because they haven't been targeted, they haven't been spooked, they haven't been overfished, and because of it, it's just an absolute angler's dream. He was telling me, just having a look at those fish floating around there. But well, I said to him, "Why don't you give it a crack, seeing that you work?" He goes, "Nah." He doesn't want to upset the apple cart.
there's
But
there's a lot of places still you're able to fish there.
there
It
is.
just
It's just,
it just takes a lot more time and effort now.
who knows? Who knows what's going to happen in a year or two's time? I might be back there again. It's there is talk currently. My wife still works for Dubai, so there is always that possibility of maybe even next year or the year after that you might see me back that side. I've always seen Dubai and the Middle East as my home, away from home.
Yep.
So we still get, those urges to go back. I mean, even from my wife's point of view, because all her friends are still there and stuff like that. So
Well,
I'm looking, if it does go the way that I'm hoping it to go, I'll definitely be
it'd be nice, man.
mapping again.
It'd be nice. See, the thing is, I'm 5 minutes away from the mangroves.
Oh, you've moved now, eh? So
Yeah, I
you're
moved. I
outside.
moved to Al Quwain. So literally, the mangrove is just like 5 minutes away from my house.
That's
Like
nice.
the access to the mangroves,
Hmm.
you know, um, a lot to be done and explored here. I haven't yet, but
Man,
we'll
you
see.
wouldn't catch me. You wouldn't catch me at home if I was that close to the water, man.
Well, they've closed it down.
Why?
It's not. It's not. It's not allowed
To fish.
anymore. Yeah,
Wow.
inside. So but um,
Is that the
not.
same place you did the kayak fishing competition from?
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, okay. Mm.
So, okay, I was trying to describe the feeling of a well-balanced combo. That's why I tossed in line when talking about stickiness. I'm trying to describe the feeling of a parabolic bend with a hook and line when a fish is on. So someone, Roxo, was saying about, how the feeling was. But here's the thing, right? He mentioned parabolic.
Yeah, that's a different realm of fishing rod he's got there.
Yeah.
That
So
that
when
that's
you're
skill.
yeah, so when it comes to ultralight fishing, like the Japanese style, they're literally like a miniature version of like a GT rod.
Mm.
So the action is not parabolic, it's
Yeah.
different. So I think that's something that I'm gonna have to discuss in the next video I'm making.
Parabolic. I've got some glass rods, parabolic, that
Yeah,
they bend literally right down to the handle. So
yeah.
literally it's a full
I don't
curve.
know, man. I don't like them.
It's good, and it's got its challenges.
Yeah,
I use it especially in the smaller streams and stuff like that, where you're very limited on your cast. So basically, the rod tip is it's like a it's like a
gotcha.
noodle,
Yeah,
like a spaghetti that you've chucked in a hot boiling water. When you pull it out, you just flop
yeah,
it
yeah.
like this. And having that type of rod in those type of conditions are perfect, because basically you don't have a lot of movement for casting. So all you want to do is let the lure do all the work for you. So it's basically loading the rod up and just giving it a short little flick. And you'll be surprised the distance and the accuracy you can get from it. But if you're going to be fishing it in big open water, it's a tool you have to master, because obviously, because that action on that rod, because it bends so much, you can't place a lot of pressure on whatever fish you've hooked into. So you got to literally play the fish on your line. So
That's-
obviously the rod just buckles over. It's very difficult. So even when you pull up, it just basically twists.
yeah. There's
So
no
yeah,
different type of fishing, man. Different tool.
it's a completely different
Yeah,
type of fishing, and it's actually, to be honest with you, I explored with that action in the Middle East. I bought a rod out of Japan called the Dawa Presso.
yeah. Presso.
Presso is AGS, and they very very nimble. And I still remember playing a queenfish on that, and that rod was basically folded in half.
Jeez,
And the nice thing about it, even if you lift the rod tip, the rod just basically bends.
dude. You know, a lot of people don't understand that queens are kind of like a nuisance.
Oh yeah, they yeah.
You know, it stops you from. They stop you from actually catching what you want to catch, because there's
No,
right
because
here.
they basically just pick up everything that you throw into the water. So
Yeah, here there's just so much of them.
literally, golden trevallies are bycatchers with the inside of a queenfish shoal, because
Yeah,
they sometimes move together, and obviously the queenfish just basically annihilate anything that gets thrown in
they're
front of them.
they're
And there's
so
just so
easy
many
to
of them.
catch. It's crazy, you
Yeah.
know. Like if you want a picture of something decent and you don't have anything else to catch,
Queenfish.
for the Gulf, it's the queenfish. For the East Coast, it's Dorado.
Yes, it's the same. We're fishing the East Coast for Dorado
Yeah,
around the tankers and the boats and stuff like that.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
why I always say the Dorado are like the queenfish of the East Coast.
Yeah. This is the nice thing I enjoyed about the mangroves, because the queenfish that you used to get used to be the bigger queenfish, because they were chasing the
Yeah,
bait fish.
yeah.
What I enjoyed was grunter fishing, because
Oh,
grunter fishing,
grunters.
grunter to
It's
me,
up there for me, man.
yeah, grunter fishing for me on little ultralight cranks and
Yeah,
soft plastics, as they busy feeding in the sand for all sorts of
yeah.
little
And they're
little
not that easy to catch.
No, they're not easy to catch, because they're very how do you call it? They're very tuned into their environment.
Yeah.
So slightest shadow or the slightest movement in the water that's out of the ordinary, they spook and then they're gone. And this
Yep.
is, I think, why when I used to target them on the flats in Abu Dhabi, it was like I was saying, it was stealth, it was tracking. I wouldn't say tracking, I wouldn't say, use that word, but it was hunting, it was gathering information, looking for them from a distance in the water, because the water is crystal clear. You can
And
actually see their body, you can see the movements in the water.
and these guys are not easy to spot.
No, because they blend in. I mean,
Yeah.
they camouflage themselves into the sand and the
Yeah.
sun, literally. That
It's
that
and in fact, you
iridescent
see
color
you
they
see
got.
more their shadow more than them.
I see that. It was the
That's
same.
how you spot
It
them.
was the same with yellowfin bream and stuff like that. They used to just blend into the environment.
You would think that a fish with yellow fins would be easy to spot, right?
They were also difficult to catch. I mean, even targeting, those were the two primary target fish that I was, and obviously golden trevally, but they were the two primary target fish that I always used to go.
Yeah.
And
I think um the easiest brim to catch would definitely be the yellowfin, but
Yeah,
that's
yellowfins, I would say the easier.
yeah, but that's still very I would say generous
Yeah.
when you say easy, because they're not that easy.
Another one that was good to catch in that estuary system, you had to wait for if you cast your mind back on the second bridge where that little shack was on the island, if you went further up, there was another little island that used to
Oh
pop.
yeah, I know that. It's your island.
Yeah,
That's your
that used to
island.
pop out during low tide.
Yeah.
You've got a sandbank that runs across there, and then you've got a weed bank that runs up next to that
That's
sand.
in front of the outcropping that you used to
Yes,
fish on.
yes.
Yes, that bank. Yeah.
That is good for emperor fish.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Spankled emperor.
I've caught a couple there, and it's one
Spankled
of those.
emperors used to run that place wild at certain times of the year. That mixed in with your sea bream. But then also used to catch, I mean, I've got videos that are on my social media of catching hummer and grouper in water no more than probably half a meter, not even.
Yeah. I mean that place is actually, you know what? That place still exists and a lot of people still see that place, but they don't fish it. So it's one of those places. Oh man, I've hooked I hooked grouper there. I've hooked on a fly rod.
There's big fish there, man.
Yeah. I've hooked, and I would never forget this. I actually hooked a big stingray there that literally dragged my kayak around. That wasn't fun. That was scary.
There's big stingray there too.
Yeah.
Big ones.
That's really scary. Because what happened was that I was actually fishing with bait because I wanted to catch smaller fish.
Yeah.
And the sand just literally went and hovered over the sand. Literally went and hovered and laid flat on my bait. And mind you, this all happened right in front of me.
Yeah.
Right. And then all of a sudden I was just like, oh, the bottom started moving. And then boom. And then it ran and holy crap, that was, and I had relatively big tackle.
Yeah, I was fishing on that where that island is, and I was walking in the water, and I thought, I've never seen this rock before in the water, and it was like a blackish color, and I was thinking, geez, it's a big rock. I wonder where that must have been the tide shift in the sand or whatever. It's just exposed this like big boulder, and I was standing fishing to the side of the boulder. The next minute, the boulder picked itself up and moved off.
What the hell? It was a
massive black
turtle.
Stingray. It was huge.
Oh, a stingray.
Stingray. I actually thought it was a big boulder in the water until it picked itself up and shifted off. Let me tell you, there's some really, really big fish in there. I've lost some big fish there on those ledges.
Yeah.
Obviously, with Hummer, they just pick your lure up and they just run straight into under the caves and stuff like that. There's no chance of getting it out. But I've also caught big fish off those sand flats, especially if they're coming up onto the sand flats to feed. So
it's a disadvantage though when you're fishing ultralight
over the ledges.
Then these things actually come up.
You don't have a chance.
You don't have a chance.
You don't have a chance. I mean, they're bullies, and they're basically, they're dirty fighters. So basically, they'll just pick it up, and the first thing they do is they just dip down straight into those ledges and straight underneath the ledge. Your ultralight tackle doesn't have a chance. I mean, just pull it up, and those edges of those ledges are so sharp. This is one of the things I have to also worry about when walking along those ledges.
See, a lot. This is what people don't know. Although it's what do you call this? Although it's it literally sand. The edges are not. The edges are not.
Yeah, you've got to be very, very careful.
Yeah.
This is what I was saying earlier from a health and safety perspective. When I was out fishing in some of these locations, if something went wrong, no one would find you for weeks.
Well, yeah. I mean,
and it could happen so easy. It could happen so easy. It could just be, walking. I don't know if you ever walked through those mangroves. I literally walked through them.
Oh yeah. I did the middle part. Actually,
it is so soft, the ground there.
Yeah.
I mean, the tide comes up, and that basically.
Who was with me? It was so funny. Kelvin.
Yeah.
So remember your spot
Yep.
near the Coast Guard, old Coast Guard station?
Yep.
So we kayaked off the Coast Guard station and crossed. And then in front of that, there's this huge canal that empties out to the other side.
Okay.
So we went through that canal, and then and my God, man, it was low tide. So we
Try to
had
put
to
your
step,
kayak through there.
yeah. So that was a lesson well learned, man. You know, after that, we
Uh,
just like, okay, better not, you know.
you take a spade with you.
Yeah. So
That's the problem I had. You could be fishing, and the next minute the tide goes out.
actually, dude, if
Goes up
you're
in the sand.
dude, you were the one who actually gave me the spot.
I most probably did.
Yeah, you were the one who gave
spots
me
were
the
only
spot
given to people
because
like us.
because what do you call this? I think you were catching brim, and then I asked where you caught them, and you said like, here, it's this spot. So we went there instead of the usual at the very end, right? So
Yeah.
usually we position ourselves at the very end. So we went to the middle where the old Coast Guard station was, and then we started fishing there. And then high tide, no problem. You know, we were buzzing in and out and stuff. But when the low tide came, I had this dumb idea of actually going towards the back. You know, and that's when we got stuck.
Yeah, you got it. Let me tell you, I've tried to drag my boat across some of those muddy sections, and you literally sink up to your knees. I remember I had to use my boat.
I was mud up to above my knees, and that was sketchy.
Yeah, and I was saying, this is why when I was walking, if I was walking my boat or the inflatable through those inlets and those estuaries, I would always be holding onto the boats.
Right, yeah. Because we were doing that with the
with
kayaks, and boy, that was, if it wasn't for the kayaks, I don't know if we'd still be around.
Well, that's what I'm saying, just holding onto the side of that rope, because if I sank, I remember sinking up to my knees, and I think I ended up losing my booties, because I used to wear booties when I used to go out. I ended up having to use the boat itself and actually pull myself out of the mud with the boat.
Yeah.
And then sit in the boat before I could move on again, because the water was just too low, and I'd lost my boots in the water, so I was now barefoot and stuff. And it doesn't bide well moving over those sand flats barefoot anyway, because of the shells in the water, sharp, all that type of stuff. So I had to sit there for. Luckily, it wasn't summer. Luckily, it was during winter. So I sat there for a few minutes. Tide then started coming in slowly again. Started lifting the boat out the water. I managed to get the engine started, but not put the engine completely into the water, but probably just run it at half tilt out the water, so I could just get the propeller in the water just to turn the boat and push the boat forward. But man, there has been some circumstances where I've actually thought to myself, you're lucky here.
Yeah. And you loved fishing alone.
Yes.
That's the big danger part there. I mean, in my stories, it would always be like, there's one other guy.
Yeah.
Right. But you love fishing alone.
Yeah. You always hear those horror stories of guys going out by themselves, and, guys getting lost, or guys drowning, or something to that effect. And, that always did play, in the back of my head. But for me, fishing alone, and it's still the same to this very day, Kit, it's hard. I hardly fish with people. For the last, I would say 3-4 years, I mean, I've been fishing with the odd person occasionally as I've met them and do 1 or 2 sessions with them. But then I tend to break off on my own again. There's a reason for it. Like I said to you earlier, when I fish, I get into a zone.
Yeah.
I don't like noise.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because I've got some ADHD, or I've got something that goes along in my brain. But when I'm in that zone, I'm focused, and I don't need people telling me what I need to do, forcing me to go down into a route that I don't want to go. If I want to go left, I go left. I don't have to sit there and.
Well, dude, remember when we fished together?
Where?
Well, when we fished together, you'd be like.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You would be one side, I'll be another side. Right? It's the way I am, man. It's the way I'm wired. It's the way. I have this thing built into me. It's the appreciation for other people fishing with me. I
Mm.
don't want to fish over people. I don't want people to be uncomfortable while they're fishing if I'm right on top of them, because that's the
Yeah.
biggest problem
Well,
that I had.
like
You
even
start
with
catching fish,
Barry,
people come on top
e-
of you.
even with Barry and myself, right?
Mm.
Um, we we fished quite far from each other.
Yes, but that's the thing. It's a mutual respect.
Yeah.
There's a mutual respect when it comes to fishing, and this is one thing. Like I said with Barry, Barry had that mutual respect that if he sees that you were having a good time and you were in a good spot, he would not come and disturb you.
Yeah.
He would stand back with the net and he would
Yeah.
talk to you, give you
Yeah.
encouragement, or have
Yeah.
a chat about how your week was going, but he would not come and stand next to you,
Yeah.
cast over your line. And I still remember in that video him saying to people, "Get out of the way, Gary's
Yeah.
fishing here." And I'm
Yeah.
and the thing is, because obviously the Trevally picked me up and it ran right, and there were people on the right hand side that saw that I was catching fish, moved in onto my spot now. So they're
Yeah.
standing on top of me while I'm
People
trying to
do that,
fish.
man.
Poor Barry
That's
kept
cool.
trying. He was like my bodyguard, trying to get everybody away.
Yeah.
Give him some breathing space, let him land the fish, and then
Yeah.
you can do whatever you want.
It,
And
it,
that's the mutual respect I have. I
fishing that spot at night with us, and it was always me and him in the summer nights, and we were always look forward to these evenings.
mm,
But it's not. We didn't agree on it or whatever. So we just kind of went to the spot the first time, and I stood in one place, he stood in one place, but and boy, like we're talking about Barry and myself.
mm,
Okay, now think about that. Um, but at at any one point, we couldn't cast. We couldn't cast and cross lines. Imagine this. And
yeah,
and remember, you're talking about Barry who could cast a fucking mile,
mm,
right? And I'm not a slouch either.
mm.
So, that's how far we were from each other.
Yeah. But that's the way we fished. I mean, I
Yeah.
remember that one night session we did there under the bridge. I was on one side, Barry was on one side, and you were on one side. And we never crossed over each other's paths while we were fishing. So if I wanted to move to another spot, I would come past you, but then move off another 50 yards away from you. So I would not interfere with your fishing zone.
Yeah.
A lot of the people don't realize this, and this is the problem I have fishing here as well. I could be in the zone fishing, going up a river, and the next minute someone else will just tap in with me, and and the next minute it's like, hey, wait a minute, I'm here,
Yeah.
okay, and then I'm now feeling okay. Let me move, and then I move, and then the people move with me.
Yeah.
I
They don't
can't.
get it.
I can't. And this is why I fish in these locations where I know there's not going to be anybody. I'm not going to have anybody disturbing me, because, first of all, you're going to have to walk up a mile up the river, through and wade all the way up to where you need to be before you can even fish with me. And a lot of people don't want to do that. But people prefer to fish from the bank because it's easier.
Especially when you're doing ultralight.
Yeah,
You know,
because you've got to get in that. You're in that zone. Once you're in that zone, I can't explain to you. It's like tunnel vision. Like people get on motorcycles when they're riding extremely fast. They get into the zone and everything. All the noise just disappears. I think there's a movie. Can't
Yeah.
remember what it was called, but the guy goes into like this zone
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
where everything just disappears, and he's got just this road. I'm exactly the same. I mean, I used to get teased for that. When I was fishing with my sponsor. Guys used to say, "Yeah, there goes Gary's in his own zone again. Look at that guy,
Yeah.
he's plowing off." And there's
That's
photographs
I
of him
mean,
halfway up the river, and the people are still
it's
standing at the bottom of the river.
it's I think that there are some people that find fishing is it's literally their escape, their refuge, and
That's my refuge, 100%.
yeah.
That's one of the
So that's something that a lot of people need to understand, that there are some people that are just like that.
It's
It's
not
not that you're antisocial or whatever.
fishing to me is how do you call it? It's my way of it's my release. I mean, everyone talks about mental health and everyone talks about this. My career has been all associated around stress and stuff. And fishing has always been my outlet when it came to just getting away and not thinking about work anymore. And the last thing that I want to do is have that noise just constantly around me still, while I'm trying to digest my thoughts and be in my environment and in my space. And I'm still like that today. I like to fish by myself. I like to be in my own zone. I like to make my own decisions. If I want to go left, I go left. If I want to go right, I want to go left. I don't have to seek permission.
Yeah,
I don't
there's
need,
too
and
many
it's the same,
captains.
that's what I'm saying. The other thing as well is when it comes to, if I want to move, I need to have my own car to move. This is why a lot of people go, but just catch a lift with me. Yeah, no, thank you very much.
Yeah,
But if I want to leave early, or if I want to move from this spot to another spot, I don't have to go, Kit, man, I really want to move up 2 kilometers
yeah,
up the
yeah,
river. You need to
yeah,
drive me. And then you're in a zone, and then I'm going to stop you from fishing and
yeah.
for you to move me across. And this is
That's
what's going on now.
consideration for the guy that you're fishing with
It
too.
is, yeah, that's the whole reason why I do it. Because a lot of people go, yeah, but you can just catch a lift with me. Yeah, and I appreciate that. But I rather go in my own car, because if I want to move, I don't have to disturb you. I can just move without disturbing. And you can meet me up further down the line if you want to. I've got no problem
Yeah,
with that. But this is way, because sometimes I know if something's not working for me. Maybe I'm just, if I can
it's
get
an off day.
in 30 minutes of fishing, I know if something's working for me, if it's not working for me.
Yeah,
Because either my rod's not balanced or set up for that environment, so I need to go and get myself set up again to compensate for where I'm fishing, or I don't want to fish that spot anymore because it's not working for me. I need to move to somewhere else. So I don't want to disturb other people. And a lot of people frown on me because of it. A lot of people go, I don't want to fish with Gary again because he's too fussy, or he's too this, or he's too that. He can't sit still. That's another one I get. You stay here. You don't need to move. No, I want to move.
yeah.
So,
Well,
and this is what the Abu Dhabi mangroves was for me. It was
yeah,
a place for me to go get lost. So, but yeah.
a good way to just decompress.
Yeah,
And
it is. It is.
especially since the work environment here in Dubai, it's like very fast paced.
Yeah, it's very fast paced. I mean, it's just a pity, people have abused I think the right to fish in Dubai. That's my personal belief on it anyway. People, just fishing, not taking. You see, this is once again having consideration for other people. Littering, casting over people, casting at beachgoers, fishing in between beachgoers,
Yeah.
not respecting some of that property. It was a privilege to fish. People going there and taking that privilege and destroying that privilege, not only for themselves but for others. And I think this is where I think a lot of it, unfortunately, just went south. I mean, I still remember fishing just outside of Abu Dhabi, going up to Saudi. There used to be, it was probably I think it's about 10 kilometers outside of Saudi. You had that long channel that used to run up this very long beach. I don't know what that place used to be called. It was basically drive for kilometers along
Sila,
this. What is it
Sila.
called? Silla. I think that's what
Yeah,
it was called.
yeah,
You could literally drive your car all the way up along the beach and stop literally right on the water's edge and fish right off the water's edge. And there was flat. There was no rocks. There was nothing. It was just flat. Big golden trevally, big bream, big queenfish that used to patrol. It was like a nursery, literally, for pelagic species. And I remember going down there many years ago fishing, and it was all quiet. There was only a handful of guys fishing. And then all of a sudden, with the explosion and the access to fishing tackle, you couldn't get anywhere near that beach. And that was for miles. People used to just park their cars, they barbecue, litter the place. Rubbish used to just blow into the water. And, that it just turns everything off, because now you have to jump over people's half-eaten barbecue bones lying on the side of the beach and stuff. So,
dude, hold on. Give me two minutes. Just a second, okay?
I could all day talk about fishing. It's just one of those things that's just been ingrained. Well, we're waiting for Kit. That's just been ingrained into my DNA. Just unfortunately, as locations have changed, fishing accessibility has become a little bit more difficult now, because a lot of stuff here in the UK is all driven by clubs and syndicates, and rod licenses and permission from landowners and all that type of stuff to fish. So it is very, very difficult and very, very expensive now to fish here in the UK. So people typically just lock themselves down to one type of fishing environment or one type of river or one type of estate where they would typically go and fish, just to reduce the cost. But fishing potential in the UK, I mean, there's just so much water here, with so much possibilities. We're very fortunate to have a good, good river systems. I mean, they're not the best, but it's, the environmental agencies and stuff is working really really hard to try get the water systems here in the UK fixed. But yeah, it's going to take a while, but we are blessed. I mean, especially if you do the trout and salmon fishing, that's a very unique fishing environment, especially if you target wild Atlantic salmon. That's on most probably everyone's wish list when it comes to a target species to catch, because they are not easy. Their numbers have been severely compromised from all sorts of figures.
Wondering where my water was. I asked my daughter like an hour ago, and she disappeared. And then it turns out that she just slept.
That?
I was like, where the heck is my water? And then I found out I can't even find it. So I don't know. Kaylee just slept. So a lot has happened, and hopefully this place gets to see you again.
Well, I hope so too. Get to be honest with you. Like I said, the door is never closed on the Middle East. I still deal with a lot of people from Bahrain and Saudi and UAE and Oman in my
Really?
work. So, yeah. I mean, from my work perspective, we've got a lot of people from the Middle East coming into training. So I'm still in contact. I've still got a lot of colleagues and working professional friends that I have that are still out in the Middle East. So the door's not shut. It's not even half shut. It's still wide open. It's just there is a plan that's been in effect for the last 5 years, and that plan is nearly finished. So hopefully next year, if everything goes smoothly, that plan then is concluded on why my family and I have moved out here. That could be the opportunity of probably if we can come back, and we'll see. I mean, if not, I'll definitely visit.
Visas now, instead of 3 years, it's 2 years.
Yeah, no, they would have dropped things down. It's all
Yeah, I've just renewed.
You've just renewed.
I've just renewed. Yeah, I'm like, so it would be like, what do you call this? It would be issued in a few days.
Okay.
So I can't travel.
Yeah, you can't travel to visa.
I can't even be on a boat. So imagine, because and Faisal is here, Abbas's son. So, I can't be on the boat, and they're catching tuna. They're catching,
Where they're fishing out of Oman?
No, here, Fujairah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So, that kind of sucks. But in a few days, then I'd be able to do that. But there's also plans of me crossing the border from here, from Al Quwain. It's just a town away, right? So Al Quwain, Ras Al Khaimah, and then Oman.
I know Al Quwain quite well. There's a very big development going up there. A lot of my colleagues are working on it.
Yeah. So that, and then fishing just across the border, off the rocks and stuff.
Yeah. You still frequent and go down to Fujairah and fish those rocks, and that
not as much as I want to. But again, man, after the heart thing kind of sketched out,
what happened? From ask.
I have stents in my heart.
How is it?
Yeah. So I didn't know I was having heart attacks.
How is it?
Yeah, we just went to the doctor because I thought I had asthma, and then they put me on a wheelchair and took me to the ICU and said, like, you only have 20% heart function. What?
Wow. Is that just from diet? Was that from diet and stuff?
Well, it's genetic.
Okay. Yeah, it typically has a heart.
Yeah. So my dad has it, my mom, and you know, it's like a family thing.
Okay.
Wholesale, everything from diabetes to heart, everything, dude. Like I have GERD even, like, you know, with a acid reflux thing and
Yeah.
all that. Terrible, man. So
You know,
after getting hospitalized and recovering for a year, you know, the doctor gave me a clean bill of health and all that crap. But I find it very difficult to just go alone. It's not like before where I would just load the kayak on top of the
this is
car, just leave for
this,
Abu Dhabi,
this,
you know.
this is the thing you have to be worried that so take into consideration. And this is something we talk about me alone fishing. I
Yeah,
mean, I'm
yeah,
turning 50 this year, and you
yeah.
know, I'm not the fittest person anymore of what I used. I try profess I am, but I'm not. And I think sooner or later, I know that going out into these type of environments, fishing by myself and stuff like that, is not going to be advisable.
Yeah.
And I know that, you know, but you know, I'm still in that mindset, and I've got to get out of that mindset because, like I say, all it takes is to slip, you know, twist
Well,
your ankle,
you
or
know,
do something.
there's,
You know, you
you
put
know,
yourself for.
you could still do that, but you could keep yourself in places where it's easy
Yeah,
for you
it's
to
easy
come.
accessible. You can get in and out.
Yeah,
Or, you know,
yeah,
like I say, you know, I can always buddy up and fish with someone. Um, and obviously, we still keep our spatial distance while we're fishing. But if something goes wrong with either one of us, we know at the end of the day, you know, or Gary's car still
yeah,
parked.
yeah.
I haven't seen Gary come out of the water yet. Let me go and have a look. You know, those type of things is definitely there. So that is a conscious decision that I need to make, because I can tell you know, and you the same. You can tell horror stories about, you know, close friends or people that you've heard of through the industry. You know, because obviously, you connected to people. I'm connected to people. We've got mutual connections between each other. So we know, and we listen to stories on what's happened to others and stuff, and how quickly those type of accidents happen to others. I mean, you know, just listening to Nick's story when he was out, I think in North Africa, when he had his accident out there, and when he was explaining, you know, the process on how he had to get recovery and stuff like that from remote areas where he was out fishing.
Yeah, that's
Sometimes it hits home how
yeah.
susceptible and easy it is for us to get hurt here, especially if you're doing rock and surf fishing. It doesn't take much for a wave to knock you.
Oh,
Doesn't
easy.
take much for you to slip on a rock, knock your
Yeah,
head, knock yourself out, and fall into the water and drown. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
it doesn't take much here. And there's a strong fishing community here that fishes for sea bass off the rocks
yeah.
here. Those guys wear PFDs when they go out fishing. They actually wear life vests
Oh yeah.
just in case they fall off.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of people
It-
don't, they go, "Oh, this cumbersome vest. Why must I wear
Dude,
this?" So
I
at the end of
fished
the day,
with
either wear it or don't wear it. If you don't wear it, suffer the consequence.
I fished with the professional Japanese fishermen
Mm,
on the shore
mm,
in the palm.
yeah.
They had
PFDs.
auto inflatable
Vests.
PFDs with them. Okay, because believe it or not, it's a job requirement.
Yeah, I think most of the Southeast Asian fishermen, they all wear some form of
Yeah,
protection when it comes to protect themselves, even in the rivers. Looking at even the social media posts,
yeah, yeah, yeah. They're
their
just
vests,
careful.
yeah, their vests
It's
they wear have
they
got
just don't know.
got
They,
it's got all
and
sorts of stuff.
remember that these guys are also they're not all young.
Yes, like most of us.
Yeah. So what happens is that they kind of felt probably bulletproof at one point. We have another question here. Is carp fishing the number one target in the UK?
Carp
Or
fishing,
is carp the number one type fishing
hundred
in the
percent.
UK? I see so much gear for carp fishing there.
Carp fishing here in the last angling trust what you call it, annual AGM or annual general meeting. The carp industry is probably about £4 billion a year industry when it comes to tackle, syndicates,
Oh,
clubs, licensing fees, and all the type of stuff to fish for carp. It is massive here. It is really big. I would say 95% of the fishing industry here is carp. I mean,
wow.
yeah, it's back. It's massive. It's a lot of the guys that I work with are all carp anglers. A lot of people I come across is all carp anglers. The lure society is very, very small and very
what about saltwater, like the beach casting? Because beach
beach,
casting is pretty big there.
beach casting around the piers and jetties and off the beach. People target, like taupe, which is like a shark. They stingray. They target sea bass and those type of things. But they're very limited here with what they catch off the beach. It tends to be the same stuff. You don't need a license to fish for saltwater species here. You need a license to fish for freshwater species. So, like I was just before you went, while you were away, I was just carrying on talking in the background, Kit,
Yeah.
for your information.
Yeah,
Every year, I've got to buy a rod angler's license. They call it like a 2-rod license, which allows me to fish freshwater species in canals and rivers, which is like a general license, which is done by the environmental agency. It costs about £33 a fishing season. Our season ends around March for a couple of months and then opens up in June again. So there's a period where you're not allowed to fish whatsoever because it allows the fish to spawn. In that time, you're not allowed to be seen targeting any freshwater species. That could be pike, chub, anything that's in the freshwater. The only places you're allowed to fish is you're allowed to fish in private lakes or private canals. That's no issue, but you still need your EA rod license, and you've got to get permission from the landowner, or you have to get permission from the club that actually owns the water. They actually run the water on behalf of the landowner, and for that you've got to pay membership.
that's a lot, man. I'm just listening, and that's a lot.
Give you an example where I live. There's a river system that runs past my place here called River Lark. From where I am to get to the Great Ouse, which is a bigger river that leads into the sea, I'm just a tributary off that. From where I am to the Great Ouse was probably about 15 miles, or say about 25 kilometers to get to there. Between 25 kilometers, there are 5 clubs I've got to go through. Each one of those clubs demands between £30 to £50 a year to fish that water. And so if I wanted to fish that whole stretch of water, I would have to pay £150 a year, taking away 3 months of that year because of the rivers being closed.
What do you catch in those places, man? GT? To be paying that much?
So you're typically catching like chub, which is called the poor man's trout. So you're catching chub, you're catching pike, which is what most target species are for the predator angler here. You've then also got perch, which is another primary predatory fishing thing that people target. So we've got those 3 predatory fish, and then in between all of that, you've got all sorts of other little, fish that just patrol, guppies and sorts of little, little breams. They call it breams, but they're actually like it looks like a mixture of a carp mixed with something else. They've got a funny body. So they've got breams, they've got tench. There's another
Tench, yeah.
And then they've obviously got carp. So carp is a very big one because people spend a lot of money on buying all the rods because you're allowed to fish with 3 rods, 3 reels. So you can have 3 lines in the water at a time. And then they sit there in these tents and they sit there with their ovens. And it's like hotel rooms on the water. So their cars, like basically, it's just full of gear. And because of it, they got massive trade shows here for carp.
It's crazy the kind of obsession the people there have with carp.
It's a big obsession. Yeah, it's massive. Yeah. It's really, really big. Like I say, I would say 95% of all the trade shows I've been part of with my sponsor, the lure element inside of that trade show probably only takes up 3% of that whole venue. The rest of it, 97% of that venue is carp angling. So
that's insane.
Baits. So you're talking about all the boilies, you're talking about all the ground baits, you're talking about all their rods, their reels, their tents, their bivvies, or tents, bivvies are the same thing. Their trolleys, their they're mixing things. They yeah, I mean, I could
The
go
platforms,
it's
the
massive.
platforms, everything, right?
Massive. It's massive. It's huge. It's huge.
Crazy.
And because of it, it takes up the majority of the industry. But what people are trying to do now is they're trying to merge the fly fishing into carp now. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to target carp now on fly rods, so getting them off the surface. So that's something that is now slowly starting.
That's nothing new, actually.
It's
Carp,
not new, but it's
fly fishing for carp.
it's new here.
You know what? The guys over at the US has that as at like to an art form.
You see here, it's, people experiment still. They're always looking for new ways. But most people, once they're fixated on a specific target species or a specific fishing technique, people tend to just stick with that one fishing technique because of the cost. Everything's expensive here when it comes to buying the tackle. So if you're going to invest a lot of money into something, you're obviously going to be sticking with it. Fortunately,
I was looking at some beach fishing rods from the UK.
Yeah, I also remember you reached out to me about reels, sorts of other stuff.
Holy moly! I mean, granted that there are some of the best are sold there in that market because they made it for that market, but the kind of cost that we're talking about would be like for something that's limited.
Yeah, it's a hard one. It's very, very difficult here. I haven't, to be honest with you, I haven't really got my head right into the game here. Like I said, being with my sponsor, I was very limited to my exposure. And my exposure, even though you're a pro angler, or in theory, it's not a professional angler, you're a promotional angler, because that's what it is. You're like someone standing at a shopping center handing out free sausages to someone in a branded uniform. That's what it is at the end of the day. You've got a product, you're trying to sell the product. And obviously you're very limited then on, like I said earlier, on what you can do and stuff. So because of it, you're also limited in with everything else outside of that realm. So I would say for the last 5 years, I've been really cocooned and bubbled. It's only now since March where I've now come out of that cocoon and actually now started rubbing shoulders with other people and now seeing a different side to this industry, which is something I've been longing for a very long time because I haven't had it for the last 8 years.
Yeah.
Now talking to like-minded people like myself who enjoy what we do, enjoy not only just the exploring with new tackle, but I'm also now on a new learning journey with this new group of, it's a new group of guys, but they an old group in the way that they angle.
Sure.
So I'm now on a new learning journey with them where they are like coaching me on how I need to do things. So you just got to stay tuned to this because I'm actually very excited about this next adventure as well. So I'm going a little bit off my ultralight thing and I'm actually going into the opposite direction. I just want to get a taste of what it's like.
Well,
dude,
it's always the learning that gets you.
Because there's always something. It's always something about something I never tried before. It's like I've always doing these read-ups about Tanago fishing. Is this art of Japanese fishing? The smallest fish is the biggest fish. The smaller the fish, the better. And I mean, I'm talking about small. So I went out and got myself this little telescope rod. Goes only to about 0.9 of a meter. It's got a little piece of braid and welded in onto the edge. There's no reel. There's no nothing. You use about like a half a meter, about a meter of like very thin braid.
Yeah, fishing for minnows.
Yeah, minis, and that's it. And you use a hook of a size 26. I could barely tie the knots on it. It takes me half an hour to tie a knot onto the hook, just because the hook is so small. You can't actually physically hold it in your hands to actually do the work. It's very tough. And then what you use tiny little bits of bread. You roll them up into tiny little pin-sized little balls, and you stick them on the edge, and you dip that, and you just basically hold. It's like holding chopsticks
Yeah.
with a line on it, and you just like bounce it in the water, and then you catch little minnows and all sorts of stuff. And I mean little minnows. I mean tiny little things that you possibly wouldn't be able to catch with normal traditional tackle. And that was a lot of fun because you're now limited because you can't cast anyway. So you've got to get right up to the bank, and you've got to basically you're literally hanging off the edge because you've only got about a meter of line. So you're getting right
literally
down.
just
It's like fishing in a goldfish tank. That's what it's like. And you're like bouncing it, and sometimes you get like decent sized fish come along, have a look at it, and then have a pop at it. But because the hooks are so small, they don't seat very well in the big mouth of the fish. So they're only designed to hook into small little gobies and small little minnows mouths where it just catches, and you've got to be quick. So it's basically as soon as that float goes down, because you're using tiny little floats, as soon as the float goes down, you just whip up the rod like that, and you've got to try get it out the water as soon as possible, because a little bit of a wiggle, they come off.
Yeah, they're gone.
But you know, that was experimenting for me. You know, I just wanted to understand what it was about and what the fuss was about. You know, just
Some of those rods are really expensive, man.
Oh yeah, I mean, I didn't go down the road of spending an absolute fortune on that because I wasn't sure if I was going to keep doing it. So, you know, I spent I spent some money on it, getting all the stuff, and I enjoyed it, and it's something I will do again in the future. But I'm excited about this new adventure that I'm going down. Everything is JDM. Everything's coming out of Japan. The rod, the reels, the lures, the split rings, the hooks, everything is coming out of the Japanese domestic product market, and they're actually the systems actually designed for the bass that catch in Lake Biwa. So it is big bass, but we use it here now for targeting very big pike. So the lures are big.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're looking at
How is it, man? Pike? Is it like barracuda?
It's like a freshwater barracuda, but I don't know what the hype is about. You know, a lot of guys, you know, this is one thing as well I never mentioned while we were discussing here. If you fished in the Middle East and you go and fish anywhere else, I mean, take away, you know, like those big atoll islands out in the Pacific and stuff like that, where guys are catching GT off the beach and stuff. Yeah, that's a different story. But if you fished like in Abu Dhabi and Dubai, and you've had that exposure to fishing in those beautiful waters, targeting really beautiful fish and hard fighting fish, and then you come and fish here, you get
culture shock.
Very disappointed.
Yeah,
it took me a very long time to get out of that mindset, and every time I used to go to talks and stuff like that with, you know, other members of the fraternity through the sponsorship, you know, they say you got to get out of this mindset of what you used to catch and get into the mindset of what you're catching now, because it's two completely different elements.
Dude, it's like fishing in the Philippines.
Yeah, I haven't fished the Philippines yet, but it's
like that. You know, it's like here you have really nice places and all that, and then you go there and you're literally fishing a ditch.
Yeah, you see, and this is what I've got here. You've got to watch out for hepatitis. You've got to watch out for all sorts of stuff in the water.
Yeah.
You know, the water's dirty, and then
okay. So in an urban environment, it would be kind of like that in the Philippines, and there are some freshwater environments that are like that. They are literally fishing like, I don't know, man, like really bad places, like full of garbage and all of that.
Yeah,
but the Philippines is more than just that, right? Outside of the metropolitan areas and stuff like that, you'll find paradise.
It's the same. You know, if you get out of certain areas, and you like, I recently did a trip up to the north of Scotland into the Highlands, into a very well-known salmon river called Thurso, and that I did in March. The scenery up there is just unbelievably beautiful. I mean, even fishing in southwest Wales, the scenery is just mind-blowing. The river systems are just so clean. The water is clean. Even the air smells, good. Everything just about some of these areas are really, 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 really exciting. There's lots to explore here. I mean, I'm probably only covered most probably 1%. In the 5 years I've been fishing here, I've probably only covered 1% of the water systems. There's just so much to be done here.
Dude, there's shore jigging in Ireland.
Yeah, possible. Yeah, guys,
Yeah.
got short jig here too for mackerel and sea
Yeah.
bass.
Yeah. So there's a lot of places in the UK and around, the place. And then obviously when you cross over to France and all those other places in Europe, then becomes even a wider, broader area.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. But I mean, while you still can
Mm.
go around and fish as much as you want, because guess what? Who knows? Maybe next year you'll be here again.
Who knows? I hope so.
Right?
We just have to go. We're on a plan. I can't deviate off the plan. If I
Yeah.
was single, if I was single, I would have most probably never left the Middle East. I must probably still be there. The only reason why I did the move back here was just for family, just to
Yeah.
get stuff set up for my daughter.
Anyway, listen, man, this is going to be this is only the first time. And
Yeah,
obviously,
what you should try to do is get Barry and everyone together. So we can have like a mass social thing here, because it'd be good to see everybody again.
that would be fun. So down the line, we'll do another one of these. The next one up would be a very interesting guy. He's coming in Thursday.
I missed out on Candyman. I was actually quite disappointed. I missed out on coming on that, because
with KD.
I don't know, for some funny reason, I think I got my clock the wrong way around on the time zone.
Sure.
And then when my alarm went off and I went and it said I need to get onto your channel.
Yeah.
I was 2.5 hours in, and then I was like, geez, I've just missed out the whole thing. How is Kate doing? Is he okay?
Yeah, he's pretty good. Yeah. As he said, he's gonna start another company.
Okay, good.
Would be for next year, specializing.
I heard you ask him that question. I mean, you were trying to dig it out of him, because I know you got rid of his other lure brand.
Yeah. He told me off camera what the plans are and stuff like that.
Okay,
So
good.
yeah.
I wish him all the best of luck. I've got all the time in the world for Kate.
Yeah, and I invited him. I said, like, hey, as soon as you're ready to launch, give me a heads up. We'll do another one of these, and you can talk about your products and stuff like that.
Is he still in the future? Because I know he was going more into the what you call it, into like
oyster farming.
Yeah, oyster farming, and
that was there. He sold that. That's done. That's done.
Done, yeah.
Yeah, and then there was a time when he was into construction, and so yeah. I mean, right now I think he's heavily invested in what do you call this, the company that he's going to be starting.
Okay, good. Best of luck.
So down the line we'll have that. But anyway,
but get Enrico on as well. It'd also be good to listen to Enrico.
Yes, actually, I'm gonna send him a message. I mean, it's a long list. I've emailed Mati.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so that we have an insight also about production and all this. I've sent out an email to a fishing rod company in Japan that I was in touch with also. Okay. So I'm gonna pick that up. Actually, I still haven't checked my email. But so this will just continue on, and then we'll just add a few more.
Definitely, I'll stay on definitely on the line. I believe old Tristan, we spoke about him the other day.
Yeah.
He's out. I think he's this week fishing for blue tuna.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he's all excited about it. I dropped him a message last week because a friend of mine that I'm busy working on this new adventure of mine. He's just come back from Spain catching bluefin tuna. Man, that's a different beast of fish, that is, man.
In the States, they just closed it.
Yeah, that's open here now. They've got it wouldn't be soon. I wouldn't say sooner or later now, someone's going to be targeting them off the beach down south. We
Yeah,
got
yeah.
we got not Bluetooth. We got bluefin
Bluefin.
tuna coming in so close now to shore,
Yeah.
chasing down needlefish. And
There's I know a
people are
couple of guys that are
photographers
doing that
actually
already.
photograph the beach.
I know a couple of guys that are doing that already. So,
So,
very interesting. Remember the fish feckers?
yeah, so they back here, aren't they? Malcolm
One
and
guy, Martin is there.
yeah, Martin's here. Hey.
Yeah, so Martin's been doing them.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Very successful. So, down the line, I'm gonna have him here as well.
That's also good to keep them on.
So a lot of people want to hear about what others are doing, what's interesting and all that. And
those OG guys, man. There was a very unique group of people.
Yeah.
So
I think that's why. So it's just a matter of scheduling, really.
Yeah.
So let's see what happens.
No problem, man. Well,
Anyway, so dude, thank you very much. It was
pleasure.
great
Sorry for all the
up.
rambling and all the talking, though.
No, man, it's all good. I mean, look, it's been like I said, these things like this is actually not planned. This was off schedule. So I just
I know. I was sitting watching TV and you said you got
and I was like, dude, let's do this, and then that's that. So what a lot of people are doing, what a lot of people in the channel are doing, actually, they said that they just play things. Like take for example, most of my videos, obviously they're very educational and stuff. So when they're jogging, they just
listen
to it. Yeah, like a podcast and stuff. So I thought of this, and then for the longest time until I said, like, you know what, let me invest some time and effort into this. And I said, and that it's great because we get to hear experiences with people, and I hate talking about myself. So
but it's also a good way just to catch up. I mean, sometimes
yes, and that's what I always say, dude. We're just catching up. We're just chatting.
That's what it is. It's just have a chat.
That's what it is.
I mean,
it's just that people are.
It'll be interesting now. I mean, I'm looking forward to your next group of guys that you're bringing online.
The next one confirmed. He's gonna be on Thursday. Okay, so the day after next, because it's Wednesday.
I just got to get my timings right.
See, the timing for this would be whatever they choose.
Okay. Okay.
So it would be about the same time we started today, 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
On 7 p.m. your time on Thursday.
Okay, yeah, I'll be around for that.
Okay, so his name is Dave Heiss.
Dave Heiss.
Yeah. He's a fly fishing, fly tying professional from Hickory, North Carolina.
Okay.
Okay. Orvis endorsed fishing guide.
Oh wow. Okay.
He's a Fulling Mill and Montana fly tying designer.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Pedigree.
Fly casting instructor. Been all over the world to fish. Been all over the US to fish. Dude, you see the rainbow trout this guy catches and gets his clients on? They are massive.
Yeah.
Like crazy big. Flew to Christmas Island to fish for GT. That type of guy. And the fly shop owner.
Yeah.
So would be very. And here's the funniest thing I know about this guy. He doesn't know how to cast conventional gear. It's all fly fishing.
But you get some. That's what I'm saying. He's just perfected his art. I mean, I watched the guy the other day. What's his name? That other American, that oldish fly fishing guy. He's got like a gray beard.
Rosenbaum?
No. He's got a nickname as well. They call it
Flip.
Flip. That's him.
Oh, dude, I learned from Flip. Flip is like Flip's him.
I was watching. He doesn't even need a fly rod to throw a fly line.
Yes. You know who started that? Who started that is his teacher. Who started that is his teacher, dude. Like, dude, check this out.
Oh, yeah, that's him there. Yeah. Flip.
Yeah. So, oh crap.
You found him now.
He's probably gonna be like, "What is Kit doing?" One of the guys that I looked up to, 100%. I used to watch him on TV.
Who was that?
Flip.
Oh, Flip.
Yeah.
suppose you're talking
And
about that guy that's
I would say,
right.
you know, one of those guys that for my questions, fly fishing has been like my fly fishing questions and all that. He's one of those guys that I could call and ask.
Yeah, he's good.
And I have, you know, and like he's like one of the grandfathers of not godfather, the grandfathers of modern fly fishing and light tackle fishing. The Walker's Cay Chronicles, that was him.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm very fortunate to have him to ask whenever I'm stuck. There's a few other people, and one guy who confirmed that he was going on here is Peter Pakula.
But he's the guy that does the Marlin lures, isn't it?
Yes. And then another guy that I'm lucky to call my mentor, you know. I'm pretty sure he's probably going to say like, ah, you started when you were 10 and you're still bugging me and you're like close to 50. You know. Oh gosh. So that he's confirmed, no date yet because he's recovering.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's recovering from a fall. So
okay. I wish him a speedy recovery, Peter.
Yeah, so that's like we have things lined up, and depending on the schedules, their schedules, then we'll have like some. But see, I wanted to have guys like you because you've fished, you know, several places. You have different experiences from, you know, places, industry, and all that. So it's always interesting, you know. Even people like Kelvin's gonna be on here.
Yeah,
You know,
I'm actually for. That's the thing is, I don't think I ever fished with Calvin.
I'm pretty sure you guys like met.
We've communicated. Definitely 100% communicated.
Yeah, so that's another guy who I believe is pretty interesting, even if he thinks he's not. You know what I mean?
He's also one of those humble guys, you know.
Yeah, dude, I always say that he is like the father of shore jigging in the Middle East.
Oh, definitely 100%.
Right? And the Middle East owes shore jigging to this guy because guess what? Even if I was doing it, I was gatekeeping. I didn't want people to know about it, you know, but he was literally the guy who was teaching people and getting people into it, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, massive props to the guy. I mean, Leng is another guy that I really want on here because you know, his work with ultralight fishing and catching those massive kings on really light tackle.
Yeah. This is why people underestimate everything. This is the underestimate ultralight and light tackle fishing.
Yeah.
So much you can actually do with it. There's so much room for movement on it too.
Something fun with Kelvin. He actually had like a 3-weight fly rod that we were using for a grunter in Al Ariam.
Yeah, I've taken my 3-weight out here a few times.
And what's funny is that I borrowed this so that I can take it back home and fish for milkfish with it. And that was like one of the scariest things I've ever done. That was funny as hell too. But yeah, I mean, you know, we were like doing all sorts of crap, man, that people never thought of. We were fly fishing at night in the flats. Think about that. This is right. This is the early 2000s. We were fly fishing in the flats at night, and we were very successful. We logged in 100 fish evenings.
Wow.
Like, well, not evenings, but 100 fish nights. That's between me. That's 100 for me, 100 for Kelvin, and 100 for Leng.
Wow.
Imagine in Abu Dhabi.
That's a lot, man.
Imagine, you know, there were fishing trips where they would raid my fly box, you know. We had to go home and we had to stop and go home because I ran out of flies. it was and mind you, remember when I tied a lot.
Yeah. You're still tying flies?
Yeah, from time to time. Yeah. I mean, in one of these days, I'm thinking of probably just tying one fly for a video just to show people.
Sure.
You know. Anyway, we'll catch up again soon, dude.
Yeah, you know where you are. You know where I am, so you just need to reach out if you want to have a chat or whatever.
Thank you very much for your time.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
It's pleasure is mine, bro. All righty, so that's it, people.
Stay in touch. Eh?
We'll see Gary again down the line. Thank you so much for tuning in, and that's it for this one. Thanks so much for
Thank you
watching.
very much for having me, Kit.
Later.
Take care. Cheers, man.